really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem been better. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities are never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them. This is my ship, I'ma jack it like Letterman, y'all better not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling, started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit, I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah, said you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah, I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch I step in it, yeah, and I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here, watch I touch down, pulling plans out the clutch, everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now, have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that, big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that, work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that, had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my, yeah. Run it, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem been better. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities are never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them. This is my ship, I'ma jack it like Letterman, y'all better not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling, started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit, I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah, said you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah, I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch I step in it, yeah, and I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here, watch I touch down, pulling plans out the clutch, everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now, have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that, big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that, work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that, had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. my time, think it's my year, yeah, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my, yeah. Run it, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging. Ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven. Got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that. It's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up. I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're in hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities and never come unless you paying attention. So no, I can't miss that. Moving. MVP, I got the record. I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy. They gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming. Had to work something cause I had nothing in my pocket. Yeah, I did all that. Big plans. Partners trying to make profits. Yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins. Yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen. Putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them. This is my ship, I'm a jacket like Letterman, y'all but not let them in. They gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling, started a chain. The cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit. I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah. Said you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah. I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch I step in it, yeah. And I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here. Watch how I touch down, pulling plans out the clutch, everybody getting crushed. The cut down is for us now. Have to work something cause I had nothing in my pocket. Yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits. Yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins. Yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen. Putting hours in my practice. I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my, yeah. Run it, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging. Ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven. Got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that. It's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up. I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're in hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities and never come unless you paying attention. So no, I can't miss that. Moving. MVP, I got the record. I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy. They gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming. Had to work something cause I had nothing in my pocket. Yeah, I did all that. Big plans. Partners trying to make profits. Yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins. Yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen. Putting hours in my practice. I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs.
Welcome back to the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. We got a special guest in the building, Jake Donovan from the boxing scene. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Appreciate you being here, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jay, what do we want to jump into first, man? I think we want to talk a little bit about the situation currently going on with Triple G and Jermell Charlo. So we know that Triple G has given up his title. I believe it's the WBA title, and has been slotted as the number one contender for the WBC title. Jay, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, it's weird. I don't like him giving up his titles, especially when we've been wanting to see him fight Laura for how many years now? They're both up in age, honestly, because Laura's 38, 39?
39, yeah.
So, might as well let them both fight and they go off to the sunset, right off to the sunset. But for him to be put up on the WBC as number one and be ready for Maul, it's weird to me. It's a weird style. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where you're champion yourself and you vacate your belts to be elevated as number one in another sanctioned body. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it too. I've been trying to triangulate it myself. I was thinking that maybe they were trying to set up a fight between Triple G and Jermell Charlo, but Triple G hasn't shown any interest in fighting Jermell Charlo in the past. And he's not with PBC, which I believe Laura's still with PBC. So I'm struggling with triangulating what's going on there. I know that we knew that Maul was thinking about fighting on June 17th. I don't know if that's still occurring. I've predicted that Errol Spence is going to fight on June 17th, so I don't know if that's going to happen either. But Jake, do you have any detail, any intel on what may be going on there?
So, the whole thing with Triple G is I wish whatever move he decided to make that he would have done this way back in October, because I think it was like a week after the third Canelo fight, the WBA said you got to fight Lara next. They stretched that out all the way till the end of the deadline. And then he decided, okay, well, I'm out of options with the WBA. And then he went to the IBF, said, well, can you enforce this mandatory instead? So the IBF went to the WBA and said, let us go first. That stretched out for another, I want to say almost 4 months, until they decided, okay, nobody's interested in paying for this Falcao fight. They were going to try to take it to Kazakhstan. So there was, exploring all these options until they realized, nobody really cared about the fight. Then he gave up that belt. Then he had to go back to the Lara fight. And then once it was going to go to a purse bid, I think what really spooked Triple G was that his promotional company, GGG Promotions, was not recognized as a licensed promoter with the WBA. Therefore, he couldn't participate in the first bid. Yes. So his fear was that they were losing control of the fight. So they decided, well, they don't want to just, let it go to my logic was let it go to a purse bid, see if someone bids, whatever, $4, $5, $6 million for the fight, which I think is way above market value for a fight like that. And then, and then take your chances from there. It's like, I don't like, people just letting, just kind of stepping away before you see what, how much money you're leaving on the table. They got the sense that there wasn't a lot of value. I always wondered why, and especially with him now being ranked number one with the WBC, is like why he never tried to negotiate it there with PBC if, if the end game is a fight with Jermell Charlo. Maybe that fight does happen on pay-per-view later this year, but if that's the end game, then why not fight Lara first? I think even for a 40-year-old Triple G, 41, whatever he is, that's still a very winnable fight for him. Lara's slowed down. He's not the crafty veteran, that he once was. He's, more stationary now, which I think plays to Triple G's, advantage. That was a very winnable fight, get paid for that, then go into the Jermell Charlo fight as a unification bout. That's by far and away, the best middleweight fight that could have taken place. But those steps never, came about. So now we got Lara, who's, he got upgraded to full champ. But now he has to make his mandatory against Michael Zarafa. They just ordered that fight. So we got all these middleweight fights that nobody cares about and no clear picture as to what's going on. I know there's been a lot of theories about, okay, now Triple G is number one with the WBC. Is he going to be Jamal's mandatory? So Carlos Adames is still owed a title fight, which is why he was permitted to fight for the interim title. And the WBC is just kind of taking a wait-and-see approach. They're exhausting every option with Maul. They realized, he was going through a lot of personal problems, so they didn't want to, I guess, add to that. Instead of stripping him and making him champion of recess, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. He gave the WBC his word that he is going to defend his title next. So I don't know. I saw a picture of him and Mel, and he did not look like a middleweight.
Looked like a cruiserweight.
He looked like he's got some work to get back to middleweight. But I'm sure he's a professional. He'll find a way to get back in shape. But I'm with you guys, man. There's just like there seems like there's a key piece missing as to like what the bigger picture is at middleweight with Maul and with Triple G. My theory was that Triple G is eventually going to fight Jaime Munguia. That's a fight that doesn't necessarily need a belt. I don't know if look, it's a fight that Munguia certainly needs. I think it's a fight that the zone will be very interested in, but I don't see the end game being Jermell Charlo. And if it is, it's just Triple G is like kind of going the scenic route to kind of get there. They could have been a much easier and more lucrative path to get to that point if that's the fight we are supposed to get.
Yeah,
that'd be an interesting fight too.
No, that would be a great fight. Like, I was thinking about that earlier. I would love to see Triple G in the ring with Jermell Charlo. I mean, that's been a fight that's been something that should have been made a long time ago. I think fight fans will be interested in seeing that fight still today to kind of see how Maul will fare against Triple G coming off of a fight with Canelo Alvarez. So I think it's interesting, but we'll see what ends up happening. I couldn't track with it at all. It just didn't make any sense to me. And usually what we try to do is triangulate things over here to try to make sense of it. And that was one that just couldn't make any sense of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Like I said, to me, it was weird too. Like when Jermell beat Sergey Derevchenko, I felt like he was the best middleweight in the world that time. And that was like the point. Like, okay, let Triple G get that mandatory get out of the way against Jermell. And I was really hoping that we'd get that unification fight, that PBC would find a way to get into that Triple G business, because Maul needed that fight way back in 2021. Yeah, I get that, PBC is trying to make him like the face of like, the annual Juneteenth show, but it's just, it already didn't work last year. I don't know. As you mentioned, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but like that's a fight that always needed to happen. It's approaching its expiration date, especially since Triple G doesn't have a belt, but it's still a fight that's of value to Jermell. I still believe he is the best middleweight in the world, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't doubt that either. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was going to agree with that as well.
All right, cool.
That's a weird division.
Yeah,
it absolutely
is completely dormant. Yeah.
So guys, real quick, we got 89 people in the building, 32 likes. If you get the opportunity, please hit the like button. Or if you don't like the content, hit the dislike button, but make sure that you are engaging with the content. And also look at that lower right-hand corner. There's a subscribe button there. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media. We're always dropping new, fresh content every day. And if you're new to the channel, you should subscribe. All right, man. Jay, where would we go from here? I mean, I think we got maybe a little bit of an update on this Terence Crawford situation. So, Jake, I don't know if you've gotten the opportunity to see this, but we dropped a couple of videos. So I'm pretty sure you're aware that, Chris Mannix tweeted, this was yesterday, basically saying that Rocha wants this fight to go, Rocha versus Terence Crawford, he wants this fight to go to a purse bid. Apparently, there's been a snag in terms of the negotiations relative to Terence Crawford and Golden Boy Promotions. It has been my belief that the common denominator in all these negotiations that are failing, and by failing, I mean now Rocha and Errol Spence, the common denominator is Terence Crawford. So he seems to be very difficult to negotiate with. I always believed that this fight was going to end up going to a purse bid because I believe that Terence Crawford was going to ask for a price that was way too high and it was going to end up going to a purse bid, and then he was going to find out what his true value is. But maybe there's some new information or maybe something that's currently going on that, maybe there's potential for Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. What are your thoughts?
So I'm going to rewind a little bit to when the fight was first ordered. I immediately went to Golden Boy, tried to find out what the situation was. I'm sure you remember when Rocha fought on January 28th, he wound up fighting a replacement woman, Georgia Ashley, I believe his name is. Oscar I think he put on Instagram his picture with him, Bernard, and Terence Crawford.
Yep.
So I figured, okay, this is just Oscar trolling. He's trying to sell the Rocha fight. Apparently, there was interest in entering a multi-fight agreement with Terence Crawford. Okay. So the first fight would have been Rocha. I'm going to spare you who the second opponent would have been. But then it would eventually led to, if Virgil Ortiz beats Montes Stanionis next month, then that would be the big fight, Terence Crawford and Virgil Ortiz. And by then, the theory was that if Spence moved up, Ortiz would be elevated to full WBA champion. So this way, it'd at least be a unification bout. I guess no deal ever reached. My theory was that even if they didn't get a multi-fight agreement out of it, that Golden Boy would open the path, the door for Crawford to at least work with them, even if not he was promoted by them. I thought that would at least lead to a Rocha fight. They made it seem like the Rocha fight was done. Rocha apparently got word. It's been reported. I think Mike Coppinger of ESPN first reported a couple of weeks ago that Crawford and Spence now have dialogue going on. They've, been in direct communication to try to revive the fight that was supposed to happen last year. Rocha has gotten spooked by that because, he realizes they're going to try to sidestep him. So he went to the WBA. I don't know if it was yesterday or Friday, but his team went to the WBO, and said they want to go straight to a purse bid. They know the deadline is today, but they felt like there was no more negotiating to be had. They wanted to go straight to a purse bid. The WBO has not yet responded. I don't know if they're just allowing the deadline to happen. Usually when one side contacts the sanctioning body and says, I want to go straight to a purse bid is supposed to be ordered. So I don't know if all the sanctioning bodies now are suddenly of the belief that there is hope for Spence Crawford. I know Showtime president Stephen Espinoza is on record saying he hasn't given up on the fight. So the whispers are obviously out there. I always, I thought once the fight fell apart last year that we were never going to see it at 147, and possibly never see it. Now here we are again. It's like, now do we have to, restore hope in this? I know there's going to be at least one of my fans that's going to let me have it if this fight absolutely happens. You guys know what I'm talking about. Shout out MVO. Rocha, I think he sees the writing on the wall, so he's expecting the WBO to do the right thing. The WBO has not yet acted. Everyone involved seems to believe that it will go to purse bid. But again, like I said, when one side tells the sanctioning body there's no, negotiations are stalled, the sanctioning body is supposed to take action. WBO has not yet taken action.
So let me.
And also, I'm sorry, not to cut you off. We also were expecting Spence to fight Keith Thurman above 147. That was supposed to be on Showtime's springtime schedule. That fight was not announced. I know for a fact Keith Thurman is waiting for this announcement. So we got Rocha's waiting on WBO to order a purse bid, and Keith Thurman waiting on word that he's going to fight Errol Spence. So there's several loose ends that I know. Here we are.
Lots of loose ends. Yeah.
Here we are.
Let me ask you a quick question, because you mentioned the fact that Terence Crawford went over to the Golden Boy offices. I always thought that they were talking about a multi-fight deal, so that wasn't surprising to me at all hearing that later on. But I guess what was interesting in what you just said was you said Rocha, some fighter that I guess nobody would want to see him in the ring with, but that's not uncommon with Terence Crawford. And then it will culminate with Virgil Ortiz. So that plan never had Spence in it. Facts or wrong? Based on what you said, it sounded like they were.
So Oscar is always on record saying that he believed he could help Terence Crawford get the Spence fight if Terence Crawford signed with Golden Boy. So the multi-fight deal, it wasn't necessarily 3 fights. I heard like 3 fights that would have been part of that deal, but I was told it was at least 3 fights. They were probably looking at 5 fights, and obviously, if there was any hope of the Spence fight, that would have been negotiated. I just find it weird that as long as it took for the Gervonta Davis-Ryan Garcia fight to get over the line, when both of those guys said right up front that they wanted that fight, I just find it weird that Oscar feels like he's the key to delivering an Errol Spence fight. I don't think he has that much juice with PBC like he thinks, but
no, he
not at all.
Absolutely doesn't. I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
Yeah, especially the fact that when he talked about it, he said, Rocha and Bud, they really want to fight each other. Then he said Ortiz, and then maybe Spence down the line. Spence ain't gonna be at 147. I don't think after this fight, if he even fights at 147, when he fights in June or July, whenever he fights again, So that's just crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That's why I don't know, maybe they feel like they need to accelerate those plans, like not have Terence fight, Rocha, not have Spence fight Keith Thurman, and then maybe they fight each other. Maybe they realize the short shelf life there is with Errol, because well, I'm not trying to fat shame people. I got about 25 pounds myself to lose, but I saw Errol at a basketball game. I think it was like a week or 2 ago, and he did not look like he was a 147. They didn't look like he was even in camp yet. So I'm sure he'll be ready at some point. He loses weight quick, but I think he's on borrowed time at 147. So he's got to make every fight count at this point. And like I said, the rumor was that his fight with Keith Thurman wasn't even going to be at 147. It was going to be above the weight.
Yeah. Now, Jake, quick question for you. Do you think Errol's accident last winter had anything to do with pushing things back as well? Because we know he was supposed to make the announcement before the Frank Martin fight, and he said he's still recovering. So how do you think that's impacting negotiations in his fight?
I think it impacted it in the sense that they were probably looking at February, if I'm not mistaken, for that fight. So obviously he had to, push it back until he healed up and, was able to get a full training camp in. So I think that was the only delay as far as that went. Obviously that didn't help things. Like, he didn't get into the accident, and it wasn't his fault. So, an unlicensed, underage driver slammed into him. You can't blame Errol for that. So, although you can't argue that,
but they do. They try.
I know. Look, the only thing you can say about Errol is he just needs to be driven. He doesn't need to be driving. But again,
facts.
Yeah, but I would say that's the only part that really got pushed back was that him not getting that February fight has really kind of really left a lot of things in limbo.
So here's where I'm struggling, right? So we heard Coppinger, however you want to call him. We heard him say that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence are negotiating directly with each other. I struggle to believe that 2 boxers can move negotiations in any significant way to a point where a fight will actually materialize, right? And so that's where I'm struggling, where people are getting their hopes up, talking about this fight is next. It's next. Right. It's like, you got to think about Terence Crawford and the fact that he just recently had a fight with David Avanesian. Someone has to validate those numbers. They already had agreed to a 65-35 split. So why would that change? How is it that, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are going to validate those numbers and whether or not that's an appropriate split? All of that just doesn't, I can't track with it, Jay. I mean, have you ever heard of anything like that where two boxers are coming together to actually negotiate a fight? It just seems strange to me. And then at some point, PBC is going to have to get involved to validate all this stuff. In my mind, that's how it would work. But what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, it's not uncommon for fighters, especially if they're familiar with each other and they have each other's number. It's not uncommon for them to get together and say, okay, this is the fight we're going to make happen. And now we're going to go to our people and make this fight happen. I mean, we've seen it with Tank and Ryan Garcia. They both agreed to terms up front. They got Ellerby and, Eric Gomez and whoever else to, get in a room and agree to all that, real quick. We saw it with Stephen Fulton. PBC offered him a rematch with Brandon Figueroa. Once the minute he got word that Naoya Inoue was moving up, he went to Al and to Louis DeCubas and said, I want this fight with Inoue. His team negotiated directly with Inoue's team, and then PBC negotiated with whoever they had to negotiate with. So, yeah, we are seeing fighters, take, greater charge of their career. So maybe Spence and Crawford are trying to get on that chain, but this is I don't know, man. I just feel like there's a lot more obstacles in place. But it seems like if they were that close in September or even, right up until the moment when Bud said, screw it, I'm going to BLK Prime, theoretically, yeah, you should be able to pick up right from there and then get it over the finish line. But now we're adding this pay-per-view into a crowded pay-per-view market. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing. It's like, yes, if the fight happens, where do you put it? We already got a fight this Saturday coming up with Benavidez and Caleb Plant. Then we got April with Tank and Ryan Garcia. Then we got Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. Now, granted, I know PBC isn't going to care less about what other people are doing in the pay-per-view. They're going to be confident that they control that industry, that part of the industry, and they do too. They do put on the best pay-per-views. But again, it's like, where do you put this fight in relation to the rest of the schedule?
No, that's a
fit in somewhere.
Point. Yeah, we actually talked about that. I think it was earlier this week as well, Jay. Like the schedule is packed. Like we actually talked about it in regards to Terence Crawford and Alexis Rocha, like when that fight would actually take place. Because we were assuming that Errol Spence was going to fight in June. So it's interesting, man. Where even with it being now Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, that's a big fight. So I think, and I don't think there's anything. Is there anything really significant in June? I don't think there's anything really significant in June.
Well, definitely not pay-per-view wise. I mean, supposedly Josh Taylor and it's like you said, that fight, whenever it happens, that's the biggest fight on the calendar. Especially once we get past Tank and Ryan Garcia.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's go ahead and switch topics. But before we do that, we got 61 likes and 153 people in the building. If you get the opportunity, please hit the like button or the dislike button. But make sure that you are engaging with the content. And if you're new to the channel, there is a subscribe button on the lower right-hand corner. Hit that button. Jason and I are always dropping fresh content. All right, Jay, what direction do we want to go in right now? There's a number of topics that we wanted to cover today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go to your favorite fighter, AB. With the king.
Adrian Broner. So Jake, if you're not aware, everybody's my favorite fighter according to Jason. So it is what it is. So Adrian Broner, I think this is maybe about like a week and a half or so ago. I think he took to his social media and said that he had big news coming, and I ultimately thought that maybe he would go back to the PBC. He has relationships over there, and I don't think it was as bad as he tried to pretend it was. Having to fight, lions, tigers, and bears. But he decided to sign with Don King, which I found to be interesting because I don't know exactly what Don King is going to be able to do for his career. So, Jay, let me ask you, was that something that you were anticipating? Did you get wind of that beforehand? Or like, it just seems like a strange, I don't think it's a strange relationship, but it just seems like a strange choice for Adrian Broner considering where he is in his career.
So I got that press release. I'm like, okay, I know St. Patrick's Day's on the calendar. I'm like, but this has to be April Fool's. I'm like, this can't be real. I did not see that coming at all. I mean, anyone signing with Don King in 2023 is not a move I expect. Look, all I will say with AB is, and I've said this elsewhere too, it's like for as many mistakes as he's made in his career, this was the one fight where he did everything right. He signed with BLK. He actually promoted the platform better than Terence Crawford, who was their first signee. He promoted Terence Crawford's fight and then built up BLK to lead into his fight. He got into phenomenal shape for this fight. He had a six-pack. He was cut up. He was ready for February, whenever the date was, was it February 25th?
February 25th, yeah.
26th.
Yeah, he was ready for that date. It's not his fault that 3 different opponents couldn't find a way to get into the ring. One for promotional issues, one was suspended by a commission, and then the other whose trainer greenlit him during training camp. None of that is AB's fault. He did everything he was supposed to, so he's entitled to a fight right now. How Don King is going to, finish the ride for him, I don't know. I know my man Lefty, we do our space every Saturday. He brought it up that he thinks that, they could do a big homecoming. I will say I've been to several Adrian Broner fights in Cincinnati. They're always a good time. So I'd love to see him get at least one more fight there. King has his roots obviously in Ohio. So maybe we get something like that. And then maybe one more title fight for Adrian Broner. So we saw him put in the work. He didn't get anything out of it. He's owed a fight, at this point. Like I said, for whatever stakes he's made, he atoned for that. And, now he's of the belief that Don King can deliver at least, 1 or 2 fights. King does have a very good relationship with the WBA. There's always these weird titles at stake for his shows. So, maybe he gets Broner that way. Broner's been talking about it. He's dead set, serious about fighting Regis Prograis. Hey, if he can get it, God bless him. I'm with you, man. I cry. I like AB. That's a dangerous fight at this stage of his career, but it's a big payday for him. So,
yeah.
All I can do is wish him well. I'm happy to see him happy. That's the most important. Because my concern when he signed with BLK, I'm like, of all people, it's like, if this thing goes sideways, I was really worried about the repercussions, like, in his personal life. But he's still in a good place. So that's the part I'm focused on the most. He's still happy, and so I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jake. I've seen some of Don King's promotions in those fights, and most of them ran like South Florida in there. How can I say this? They're lackluster.
Yeah.
I'll be kind. That's the best I can say to it. I mean, it's I was surprised at that one as well. I was like, Don King. I was like, really?
Yeah. I mean, when you run on, Lunga Makabu pay-per-views at $50 a pop, that just tells you the state of your company. But he tries though. I mean, like I said, he's got fighters. Yeah. He did 2 shows last year, which is a lot for him. He's whatever he's got very little skin in the game, but he is trying. So again, it's just a very, very weird signing.
Yeah, I like AB, and I hope the best for him. AB seems like a genuinely good guy and has gone through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that he's gone through, he imposed on himself. So we all understand that, but we do want to see him do well. I just don't know if Don King is the right move for his career. Let me ask you this, Jake, because we've done a few videos on BLK Prime. You don't have to speak to any of this in terms of what I'm about to say right now, but I never believed that Terence Crawford got $10 million. All of a sudden, this Indy just came out of the blue. They tried to make a fight with Terence Crawford versus Jaron Ennis. It was my belief, and I hadn't even heard anything from Steven Espinosa at the time. It was my belief that was all the idea of BLK Prime, because they were trying to figure out a way to get a fight going because they don't have anyone signed, and they're not really doing anything right now. Where did these guys come from? Do you have any additional insight or intel where these guys came from? I mean, they just came out of the blue, and to me they seem to be failing spectacularly.
Yeah, so I have the same paper trail as everyone else, where like they just had like a decade-long history of debt and what seemed like just ongoing scams. I know some of it, like who was Desmond, Uncle Des. I don't know if it was him or his other partner. One of them was claiming that it was like his son that kind of racked up all that debt, and all the his name was attached to it. So it's one of those things don't happen. No, it's not he's the cause of it. Things happen to him.
Yeah.
So it's just right, of course. So but look, there's a lot of people in boxing that are like that. But yeah, there's a lot of mystery. The first thing you always think of when you see people just light money on fire, it's like it's a money laundering scheme. Like this money is coming from somewhere illegal. I don't want to accuse them of that. I certainly don't want you guys get you guys sued for speculating. But it's like, where is this money coming from? That they could just throw it away like that. But I'm with you. I'd be surprised if Terence Crawford even got $5 million from that last fight.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And people say that we're haters because we triangulate the numbers, and it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I mean, did you ever hear any pay-per-view numbers from that fight with Avanesyan? Like any real pay-per-view numbers? We heard 15,000. I don't believe that. I feel like
low
that's a stretch. Yeah, that seems low.
It depends on which market you're looking for. I don't know the true U.S. numbers. I've heard the true U.S. numbers were low, but Chris Cyborg was on that card. I know it did big numbers, in Brazil, I believe. So like it became like a worldwide figure where they said they sold more than 100,000 pay-per-views. I do believe that. I don't believe they sold that many in the U.S. I'd really be surprised if they even sold 50,000 in the U.S.
Yeah, gotcha. So Chris Cyborg, from what I just heard, Chris Cyborg is a bigger pay-per-view star than Terence Crawford. Jake, you didn't say that, but that's my interpretation.
in Brazil, yes. Hey, as we see from the World Baseball Classic, more people watch baseball in Puerto Rico than they do in the U.S. So,
yeah,
right. Yeah. Everyone has their market, and Chris Cyborg is certainly a legend in Brazil. So.
Absolutely, and Terence Crawford has no market. True. Ooh, I got a bunch of zingers today. So Jay, where do we want to go from here, man? I know we've been going at it now for about 36 minutes. I definitely want to open up the phone line so people can get the opportunity to ask Jake questions. Where do we want to go from here?
Yeah, let's talk about Golden Boy a little bit and some of the things there, like B-Hop talking about the rehydration clause. Again.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Jake, we've done several videos on this, and I don't know why this is such a big deal, but throughout history, at least the history of boxing, we've seen A-side fighters get all types of advantages. We saw it with Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. We saw it with Oscar De La Hoya versus Mayweather, Oscar versus B-Hop, Mayweather versus Canelo. We see this all the time, yet there's such this has been made to be such an issue. And I just saw, like, even yesterday, I think Fight Hype dropped like some video of, I didn't look at the video, but it was talking about Ryan's complaining about the weight and all this stuff. And it feels like a built-in excuse to me. And when I think about it, it's like, okay, so either Tank could say, okay, I'm going to let you rehydrate to wherever you want to rehydrate to and give Ryan the advantage, or being the A side, he can take that advantage away from him. So it's his decision because he's the A side. Either he's going to give him the advantage or he's going to take the advantage for himself. We've seen these guys do this all the time. What are your thoughts on this?
On the rehydration clause itself, or the whole discussion around it?
The clause itself and the discussion around it.
Yeah, the clause I couldn't care less about. Ryan Garcia, in the very beginning, his marching orders were Golden Boy to accept the deal as they presented it to us. This is the fight I want. So that said, no matter what Tank demanded, no matter what Showtime, PBC, whatever they wanted, whether they didn't want the zone in it, whether Ryan had to weigh 135 and come into the ring naked or whatever, that he gave them a blank check to sign that deal in original form. So he's the one who agreed to the rehydration clause. I still wonder, like, if Tank wasn't, whatever it was, 2 hours late to that press conference, or however long it took him to finally, get to Mid-South. I wonder, like, if Ryan just kind of had that in his back pocket and said, all right, well, screw it. This guy's making me wait. Now I'm going to, put this out there. I don't know if that was always his plan to put it out there. My only issue was when Tank was asked about it and the way he explained it. Tank could have left the conversation at, I'm the A side. He's going to do whatever I tell him. Mm-hmm. That's fine. As you mentioned, look, Bernard Hopkins and Oscar De La Hoya became partners after they fought. When they fought, Bernard Hopkins agreed to fight him at 157 pounds, despite the fact that he was the undisputed champion, middleweight champion. Oscar brought that little WBO belt, but he brought the name. Bernard agreed to all those terms. So he can say whatever he wants now. He made that decision in 2004 because he knew that would take him to the next level. So Ryan Garcia agreed to this, because this is the fight that he wanted. Tank could have just left it there. But then to explain, well, he's a bigger guy. Why should I give him an advantage? Now you're arguing that Ryan is bigger than Mario Barrios. And there's no way that's true. Mario Barrios is bigger than I am. I will never in my life make 147 ever again. I'm surprised Mario Barrios makes that. You can't argue that Ryan is bigger than him. So now you're kind of hinting that, well, maybe he's better than him. So I just felt like it was an answer that, Tank didn't owe an explanation to anyone. Like I said, he could have just said, I'm the biggest star in boxing. Ryan's going to agree to whatever I want. And I would have been fine. That is my only problem with this whole rehydration clause. To complain about it after you've signed the contract, tough. You should have negotiated a better deal.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, as an A side, I'm not going to give you the chance to rehydrate to 160, 155. Mm-hmm. And they're making it seem like Ryan has been fighting at 140 or 147 for 13 years. He's had 2 fights at 140, and both of those fighters came up from 135 because they couldn't make the 135-pound weight themselves.
Exactly.
So it's not like Ryan's been at 140 for years. So that's what I hate about it. But I agree with you totally. Like Tank opened up a can of worms on himself on that one.
Yeah, he did. That's that was one of the issues that I had defending it as well, right? The whole Barrio situation, and you didn't force him. I don't know. I don't know what the decision was behind that. Yeah, to your point, I feel like you're the A side. You dictated terms. You had the leverage, and you did what you needed to do. And so it is what it is. I mean, Ryan should, in my opinion, there should be no issue with rehydrating up to 146 pounds. I was telling Jason the other day, I would have been really curious to know what did he weigh on fight night for Fortuna. I mean, I wonder if he was at 148. Like if you were at 147, 148, then this shouldn't be any issue. But I don't know if they actually did a weigh in on the night of the fight.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think Ryan does blow. I mean, he does seem like the guy who's just, he's tall, but he's lean. He doesn't seem like he certainly doesn't walk around at 200 in between fights.
Right.
No.
I'd argue that Tank is probably heavier than Ryan in between fights. But like I said, I don't think Tank, wanted that for any physical advantage. Obviously, there is a slight physical advantage, I guess. But I just think he did it because he knew he could do it. He can, negotiate whatever he wanted. I think, people are buying it. Like when they said, "Oh, Tank wants, body testing." It's like, well, why wouldn't you want random drug testing for a fight like this? So I actually applaud Tank for demanding that. He's done it. That's gone under the radar. He's actually done random testing for a lot, at least his past 5 fights by my count. Ryan, this is his first time doing body testing. So I applaud Tank for pushing that one.
Planet 619 just said Ryan weighed 148 that night for Fortuna. So 146 isn't way off.
No, not at all.
So yeah, you should just stop crying.
Yeah, and again, that was a fight that came with a 140-pound limit, if I'm not mistaken. The Fortuna fight. This is 136. So.
Well, yeah. Fair.
So 4-pound difference. So I mean, it makes sense at 146 versus 148.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jay, what are your thoughts on in terms of like how that fight might play out? Two young guys, explosive guys. Both guys are fast. I've told people this on multiple occasions that I don't think Tank is going to run through this kid, man. I think Ryan is long. He's fast. Tank says all he has is a left hook. I don't necessarily agree with that. And I feel like Tank, to some degree, he has challenges with taller, rangy fighters. Now he's a patient fighter and has been able to, figure out ways to get on the inside and then ultimately get those fighters up out of there. But I think this is going to be a very dangerous fight for him, probably the first 6 rounds. What are your thoughts on that?
You asking Jay on it?
You said Jay or Jake?
Jake. Sorry, it's a lot of J's in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, so I've always said I feel like this is going to go the way a lot of Tank's past few fights have gone. That it's going to be competitive until it isn't. Tank, I believe, is the more resourceful fighter of the two. Remarkable, not that he just knocks people out. He finds different ways to either knock you out or break you down and stop you. I think Ryan is going to be very competitive for at least the first 5 or 6 rounds. I think at some point, Tank, once he takes over, it's just going to stop being competitive at that point. I've always predicted he's probably going to stop him somewhere around 8 or 9 rounds. So, but there just seems to be like a certain template that comes with, Tank's, pay-per-view fights where, guys are competitive for like 5 or 6 rounds. He finds a way to flip that switch and then it's over.
Yeah, no, I agree. I pretty much said the same thing. I think round 8 or 9. Yeah. I think Tank might also be saying like, well, all you guys got a hook. I think that's a mind game as well.
Exactly.
To play Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think everything, like I said, even going back to the rehydration clause and the testing, everything Tank has done has been for mind games, and including Noel's comments too.
No, I totally
definitely
agree with that. So pay-per-view numbers. I've heard. Let me see. Who was it that said this? Was it De La Hoya or maybe? De La
Hoya said 2 million.
Yeah, 2 million. That's the number that I was going. 2 million pay-per-views. I think that's not going to happen at all. But I do believe that there's a possibility for this fight to do 700 to 1 million. So Jake, let me make sure that I pronunciate. What are your thoughts on that? And if it does do those types of numbers, and let's say Tank wins this fight, as we predict he will, do you believe he supplants Canelo Alvarez as the number 1 draw or attraction in the sport?
I was just about to get there. I was about to say this is going to be the fight that validates the fact that Tank is, in fact, the biggest star in the U.S. So I'm with you. I think it's going to surpass Canelo, Caleb Plant, which I believe did just under 800, or I forget the number that was. It was somewhere between 775 and 800. I think it will crack 800. I was overly optimistic in the beginning and thinking this could be the one fight that finally cracks that 1 million mark. So I think it'll even outdo the second Fury Wilder fight. I think this will be the biggest pay-per-view since the pandemic.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No, well, not counting Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. That was a sideshow. That was like a one-time spectacle. Right. It's not going to do 1.6 million, but I do think this will be the one fight that can come that close to hitting the 1 million mark.
I agree. With that. Yeah. Go ahead, Jay. I think you have a comment.
No, I agree. I said it was going. I said between 750 and 1 million is what I'm thinking, somewhere that range there. 2 million is absurd in this day and age.
Yeah. Now, granted, I don't think, like I said, if they weren't fighting each other, they obviously can't do that big enough. Like we're seeing Tank, his ceiling has been somewhere around, I think, the Rolly fight. I want to say he did like just under 275, which, for the gates that he's pulling in, I mean, his events are generating a lot of money. But without, that seems to be his ceiling without this Ryan Garcia fight. And Ryan, obviously, I don't know if he even is a pay-per-view fighter without Tank. So I don't know what their market is going to be after this fight. But this is the one, like them two coming together. I think it's like a perfect storm.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because this has been debated in the past as well. I've always said that the biggest fight in the sport currently is Spence versus Crawford. I'm not so sure about that anymore. Do you believe that this fight is a bigger fight than Spence versus Crawford?
I always have. And even when I thought both fights were going to happen last year, I was worried. It's like, man, are we really going to get Spence Crawford in November and Tank Ryan in December? Because my thought was like it was going to take away from Spence Crawford. I've always believed this is the biggest fight.
Yeah.
Maybe this fight, I don't know, maybe in a weird way, this would make Spence Crawford bigger if it does in fact happen this summer. Like, the amount of attention that would, this fight would generate, maybe more people would be more intrigued to watch Spencer Crawford, especially if Showtime is running that one as well. It's like, if they know they're doing that fight, you promote the hell out of that fight on this pay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's big. So let's pause here very quickly, guys. We got 176 people in the building, 95 likes. If you haven't had the opportunity, please hit the like button or the dislike button if you don't like what you're hearing, but always engage with the content. Also, if you're new to the channel, this is AM Sports Media, the Angry Man Podcast. We're always dropping fresh content on a regular basis. Go ahead and subscribe. And for our subscribers, if you're subscribed to the channel, become a member. Help support the channel. We're bringing fresh new ideas and content to the sport. There's some things that Jason and I are currently working on to expand our reach and expand the content that we bring. So consider becoming a member. That helps us bring you this content. All right, man. Jay, where do you want to go from here, man? It's your show. It's your world. Where do you want to go from here?
Let's see here. What's your thoughts on Oscar De La Hoya going off on Canelo? I mean, I know it's hate. It's sour grapes, but what's your thoughts on that, Jake?
I thought Canelo's, I forget, no, I'm sorry, not Canelo's response, Eddie Hearn's response. I know Eddie isn't everyone's cup of tea, but the fact that, it's like, if you're the promoter of Jaime Munguia and Zulo Ramirez, you have no right to criticize anyone else's resume. Especially, look, whatever people feel about Canelo and John Ryder, he has far and away the best resume in the sport among any active fighter right now. The fact that people are criticizing John Ryder as a cherry pick just tells you how strong Canelo's resume is, that this is his weakest fight, probably since he'll drink. So, that was it. You hit it. You hit the nail on the head. It's sour grapes on Oscar's part. So his fighters over there, I mean, I've seen, I watch every DAZN show. His guys are not, Look, the Virgil Ortiz standing on his fight is fantastic. I was glad that, Virgil pushed for that fight. But beyond that, Golden Boy has just not been killed. Some of their fights have been hidden gems, but no, that's, if you promote the guys you promote, you have no right to criticize anyone else's resume. Look, they match their prospects very tough, and even some of their rising contenders. But once, some of these guys, when they get to a certain level, no, you lose that right. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, Eddie's return fire was funny. I mean, and then the fact that Zurdo misses weight by 12 pounds, tries to drop some weight, he's still off by 7.6 pounds. That just adds to the fire. It's not Oscar's fault, but it's Oscar's fighter. Exactly,
and it's a guy that's fighting a faded super middleweight at that, who agreed to move up in weight and did his job. So Zurdo couldn't have done it any more wrong than what he did this week. So that was
fights.
I know. Yeah, that was a very mistimed comment. But Gabe, like I said, he's willing to fight everyone on the Golden Boy roster. So as long as the zone's going to green light it, he's going to keep getting these fights.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I hope he gets a super middleweight fight at least next. Like I said, he did his part. He weighed 170. He was well under the limit as you expected. Gabe's always in shape. So hopefully I'd like to see him actually get a winnable fight at this point. I thought the Shane Mosley fight was winnable for him. That was a very big missed opportunity for him. But hopefully he's not going back and fighting another light heavyweight after this. But, like I said, it's his career. He can do whatever he wants.
Yep. All right, so guys, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines now. So let's go ahead and do that, Jay. So guys, the number is currently up. If you want to call in and ask some questions, we are more than willing to answer those questions. But yeah, so Jake, this is usually when we start to get the calls. They tend to flood in at this point once somebody is brave enough to call in, and you'll find that these folks are very opinionated.
That's all right.
It'll be an interesting discussion.
It's fun. To say the least.
It's definitely fun. It's definitely fun. Jay, anything else we wanted to cover today?
It looks like we pretty much hit.
It looks like
everything.
Pretty much everything.
Oh, we did. We missed about about Tszyu and Charlo.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Jason?
I mean, Tszyu looked good against over the hill Tony Harrison. Tony looked like he aged like 30,000 years. He sounded like he talked a good fight, like he wanted it, like he's ready, but his body wasn't there. His body wasn't there at all. Now the Tony that fought Mill the first time and the second time, I think he beats Tim. I think he boxes Tim's head off. And I think watching Tim versus Tony, seeing how Tony was actually kind of getting with Tim in the inside game, I think Mill takes care of Tim as well. I think he probably gets rid of Tim probably in 9 to 10 rounds. I don't think Tim has the boxing. He comes forward. He's more of just a come forward, pressure you type fighter. And Mill's going to pick him apart. Mill has a little bit more of a range on him. Mill's got a nice jab, and Mill's nasty.
Hold on, Jason, let me make sure I heard you. Did you just say, when you said box his head off, who were you referring to?
The Tony that fought Mill back in first Mill, the first fight.
Okay, gotcha.
Tony would have boxed his head off, yeah.
Gotcha. So I don't know, man. I think Tim Tszyu, in my opinion, is somewhat tailor-made for someone like Jermell Charlo, because Tony didn't present any movement. All he did was, jab and then move backwards, and that was the wrong game plan. Now, he talked about his brother having the right game plan for him, and I guess he went to the ring and forgot the game plan, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't know how you forget a game plan. I mean, to me, the first thing that they should have talked about in training camp was make sure that you don't stay on the ropes. I mean, that should have been drilled into his head. So whether he forgot the game plan or not, he should have known not to move straight back and allow himself to be caught on the ropes against a fighter like Tim Tszyu. I think with Jermell, he has the ability to move, which will not allow Tim Tszyu to just plant and get off shots. And not only that, I think Mel has power. So some of those shots that Tony was able to hit him with, if Mel hit him with that shot, it's gonna be tough. So in my opinion, I just feel like he won't be. I see that his confidence is a lot higher, but I just don't believe that he's gonna be able to beat Jermell Charlo, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that, Jake?
So I'm going to say this. I don't wish injury upon anyone, especially someone breaking their hand. But absent that, Jermell, overcoming that, and now he's going to get back in the camp. I think it was a blessing in disguise as far as this fight goes. Because if they fought January 28th, everything you guys just said, I think that plays out then. And then it's like, oh, well, Tim Tszyu was never about that. He's just Costa Tszyu's son. He was never ready for Jermell Charlo. So this became like the best case, alternative that, Tim now won the fight he was supposed to earn his shot at Jermell Charlo. I'm not going to diminish it. Look, Tony Harrison's one of my favorite fighters. I love that whole gym. God rest, his father's soul. I love the legacy that he and LJ are carrying on. Alicia Baumgartner is one of my favorite fighters. Just everything that comes out of that super bad gym, I'm a big fan of. I was rooting openly. I didn't even have a prediction. I told people, look, I like Tony Harrison too much. I am rooting for him to win. So I'm not going to, crap on what Tim Tszyu did that night. I mean, Tony himself admitted, he and LJ, like, maybe it's just time to, become a full-time trainer at this point. So he had to learn it in the ring. Tszyu did everything he was supposed to do, so he built intrigue. Now you want to see him fight Jermell Charlo. Whether or not you think he can beat him, at least you want to see him in July, more so than how competitive we thought that fight would have been January 28th. So I think it worked out perfectly for everyone involved, and especially Showtime, because I think that's going to be a banger of an event when it takes place this summer. I'm with you guys, though. I think Jermell, he's just way too resourceful. I think, once he figures Tim out, he's going to deal with that aggression, and he's going to eventually pick him apart and knock him out. I'm with you on that, but I think it's going to be a very big event for Showtime this summer.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jake, on that. The fact that they didn't fight in January and Tim put on the show like he did what he's supposed to do. It put more eyeballs on it. Everyone's like, okay, let's see what this Tim kid can do. Yeah, exactly. He puts pressure on you, so let's see how that works. It makes it more intriguing. Yeah, because before that, it was just the WBO was very clear. They wanted to be in the Tszyu business. They saw the money that he brought in. They forced him to be the mandatory. That fight almost interrupted the Charlo Castaño rematch. So, now he's finally earned it. So that's the part I'm happiest about the most. Yeah. So this is where actually interim titles, serve their purpose. This is a fight that justified an interim title being at stake.
Absolutely. So really quickly, Lefty, why don't you go ahead and call in and get it kicked off if you out there in the chat. I don't know if you are or not, but definitely would be good to get you to call in and give your thoughts. What are your thoughts, Jake, on Plant versus Benavidez? That's on its way. We were fortunate enough to get Benavidez on for an exclusive interview, and he seems very calm and ready. Oh, we already got somebody calling in. Let me go ahead and take this call real quick. Hey, you're on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg, and we also got Jake in the building. Who do we have on the phone?
What up, though?
What's up?
This guy Jake has no idea what he's talking about. Just letting everybody know that.
I think I hear a pit bull from Lefty.
Yeah, I got word that Rocha thinks he's fighting Crawford next. He doesn't have any idea about no step aside, or that he's supposed to be that Errol Spence and Crawford is fighting, and all of this. He said he thinks he's fighting. As far as he knows, he's fighting Crawford next, be it by purse bid or be it by negotiation.
That's interesting. I've always thought that this was going to go to a purse bid. I mean, we've been saying this for what, Jason, like 2 weeks now?
Oh, yeah, at least.
Yeah, that this was going to end up going to a purse bid because Terence Crawford has just been very difficult to deal with in terms of negotiations. I mean, Bob Ironman said it. We saw that he had challenges with making a fight with Errol Spence and now Alexis Rocha. That's also the reason why I doubt significantly that this fight is going to materialize. This fight being Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence next. I'm struggling, guys. I'm struggling to get there.
I'm struggling to get there also because I don't understand how you move Rocha out the way.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, who's gonna pay that money?
According to what's his name again? VDO.
NVO.
NVO. Sorry, I always forget his name.
Most valuable opinion. Yeah.
I think that's like maybe it's going to be Oscar according to him, right? Because Oscar really wants to be in the business of Terence Crawford for whatever reason. I don't know what reason he would want to do that, but according to him, that's who's going to pay it, Lefty.
He called me a Chris Mannix shield today. For showing him that tweet. He's big bad. Well, anyway, that's all I had to call in and say. What up, though, Jake? And remember, Jake and Lefty Show every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, on Twitter Spaces, and later uploaded to YouTube at Chicken Talk. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you, Chicken Talk.
Yeah.
Y'all definitely subscribe if y'all haven't subscribed.
Absolutely, man. Lefty is the man, and Jake is also the man. You guys should really go check out this show, man. And we're on there when I can catch it. Sometimes my kids derail me, but for the most part, I try to get on there and catch it. Like yesterday, I think I jumped on maybe like halfway through, so I didn't ask questions because I hate to be the one that comes in and ask another question that has already been asked. So I just said I'm going to sit in the background and be quiet.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. I don't mind clarifying, especially like if I say something early and like I miss a point. Matt is the one. He gets a certain kind of way with people repeating and asking questions that he don't like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were going down
So
the
Greg,
path of,
you asked
sorry,
earlier about the plant Benavidez, right?
Yeah, that's the path that I was going now. What's going on?
Okay. No, I was just making sure we're getting back to that before the call.
Yep. So we were going down the path of Plant and Benavidez. So we were fortunate enough to get him on for an interview, and he seemed calm, cool, collective. We know that there's some animus there for that. I still don't necessarily really understand where it originated from outside of the little brawl. Based off of an interview that I saw, it seemed like it actually started earlier with some situation between he and Plant and Jose Benavidez Sr. But what are your thoughts on that fight? I'm wondering if Benavidez is going to go to the ring too emotional. Now, he's addressed that. He addressed it in the interview with us. He's also addressed it on other platforms that, he was really emotional with the Anthony Durrell fight, and he was able to calm down there and box and execute beautifully. So maybe he will be able to do this, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Jake.
Yeah, I think he will be professional. I interviewed him at length as well. So, and he even said it's like the only part he's going to take, that he doesn't take any of this personal. Like, he's going to talk all the junk. He's going to talk with Caleb, during the press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
But once he gets in the ring, he's going to do his job. Once he has him at the point where, in his words, he's ready to knock him out, then it's going to be personal. Then he's going to lay that beating on him that says, now you're going to pay for all the junk he talked in the past. But no, up until I think, Dave Benavidez he's going to be a pro about it. Caleb, he's the one who's in familiar territory because he seems to get into a beef with everyone he fights. I don't know what it is about. I've known him since the amateurs. He's from, he lived 45 minutes away from where I live. And I don't know. He was always this nice kid coming up. And then once he became like a contender, it just seemed like everyone he's fought just they don't like him. They just have this weird beef with him. They get along with him afterwards, but going into them, they just think he's, they think he is what, I don't know. I don't know what it is about him. I don't think he's that unlikable, but everyone just seems to get it. So he knows how to handle this. And he doesn't bring any of that into the ring. He doesn't get emotional in the ring. So I think, the onus will be on David Benavidez, to see, what he brings into it, because he's never really been in this. I know he and Durrell had some heat. But, Caleb, I think, is a lot fresher going into this fight than Anthony Durrell was in their 2019 fight. So this is definitely the toughest test of David Benavidez's career. It's tough to argue that it's the toughest test of Caleb's career unless you significantly believe that Benavidez is better than Canelo.
Right.
But, I think it's a real 50-50 fight. I love the fact that the animosity is real. I love the fact that they both had other options. And they went to PBC and said, because Benavidez was supposed to fight Uskategi, they're going to say, just get back in the ring, give you to stay busy. He's like, no, I want the best fight possible. So they both went to, the higher powers and said, make this fight happen, and they made it happen. So I love it, man. I love when grudge matches like this, materialize that way when they both force the issue.
Yeah. I think for me, the only thing that rubbed me wrong with Caleb was him talking to Canelo in the ring.
Yeah, I agree.
That bothered me so much. I'm pretty good, aren't I? I'm like, what?
That turned me on him, man.
Yeah. It did. I know a lot of people. I'm very friendly with Caleb, so it's tough for me to be completely impartial. Yeah. But it does. It almost comes across like sparring partner mentality, and which Caleb is not. But it's like you're looking for that validation. He had a different explanation for it, but look, everyone.
And he doesn't need any validation from.
No, not at all.
That's skills. The thing. You got skills. You're in the ring and you're fighting to win. And you should be in there with the mentality that I'm going balls to the wall for all 12 rounds until I win this fight. And so just him just losing to Canelo, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, in my opinion, even though, and Jake, I know you feel like he has the best resume in boxing. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But for me, just some of the opponents, when you think about the context of some of those opponents, man, I just feel like his resume is diminished. But regardless, I feel like, just looking at him from an eye test perspective, Canelo is one of the better fighters in the sport today. So there's no shame in losing to him. But just those comments, man, that was the only thing I was like, God, come on, Caleb, man.
Yeah, because I don't see Benavidez doing that with anyone that he fights. I don't, his not that he's arrogant in any stretch, but just his mentality in the ring. Yeah, he would never allow that. And Caleb, I felt like in that fight, I'm not going to argue that he could have beaten Canelo that night, but I feel like the only times he really won rounds was the opportunities where Canelo, just kind of gave away the round or just, Caleb didn't really go out there and explore any opportunities. He just kind of took what was offered to him. that night. That was the only thing that really, bothered me about that night. I just felt like he didn't give himself the best chance of winning.
Deuce Daly is mad with me in the chat. Deuce, I didn't say that Canelo's opponents would beat everyone. I'm not even comparing them to Benavidez's opponents. My point is some of those opponents that he fought at super middleweight when he went on that Euro tour, I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of faith in some of those opponents that he fought, period, in the story. So we just disagree on this one, Deuce.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Greg. at the time, because, people try to say, well, he's fighting his Mando in John Ryder. Well, Boo Boo was a Mando.
Right.
Charlo was a Mando. This was before Charlo had that 2 year layoff as well. So that's what bothers me when he went on that European diet and picking the lesser of those fighters over there to fight. Yeah, it's great accolades. He did what he had to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy to go up and down and weight, because it sure as hell ain't. But the people he fought, I'm like, you had a better person, I feel, in Boo Boo and Charlo at the other weight class that were your Mandos, and you didn't fight them. You told Boo Boo, oh, you just want to pay it. You need to. Who have you fought? Who have these other guys fought that you went and fought?
This the one argument I hate. He fought undefeated champions. Well, Terence Crawford fought a lot of fighters that they were either undefeated or only had one loss when he was winning all those titles at 140 pounds. We saw subsequent to fighting Terence Crawford what happened to those guys. Some of them either lost somewhere between 4 to 6 of their next, let's call it 6 to 8 fights. I mean, these dudes weren't that great, period. So just because you're a champion doesn't mean that means that because, Canelo beat them, that they were good competition. That doesn't mean anything. It's the state of that division at that time. So, I just disagree with it. I think if someone want to make the argument that he has the best resume currently, and if you're just talking about on paper, I would agree with that. But then when you add a little context to it, I think it's diminished, period.
Yeah, it diminished it big time. Especially, people are trying to say, well, he's fighting John Ryder because that's a mandatory. I'm like, John Ryder lost the 3 of his prior opponents that Canelo already beat. John Ryder got a fight against Daniel Jacobs that was questionable. He got the win, but it was questionable. On that one, I see Canelo as a good fighter, great fighter, and I want to see him fight the top threats at his chance that he has available. And he didn't do that, in my opinion. That Euro tour was not that. Except for Bivol.
Yeah, Bivol's good. And Caleb Plant. Like, if you want to argue Caleb Plant, agreed. Bivol, agreed. Kovalev, absolutely not. Billy Joe Saunders, he was okay. Who else?
Durham.
Callum Smith.
No.
Callum Smith. Durham. It was Durham. Abby Durham or whatever his name. Yeah, I forget his name. I always mess his name up.
He was getting outboxed by Khan until he knocked Khan out. So I don't know, man. He's good. He's really good. Like, if I look at him from an eye test perspective, he's a really good fighter. I don't take anything away from him. I think Terence Crawford's a really good fighter, but stop hitting me with their resumes are so great. Like, compared to what? Today's fighters, they're not fighting each other like they should be. So maybe that's why he has the best resume to date. But compared to yesteryear, where some of these guys were really getting in the ring with the best fighters available, I don't think so. Oh, we got somebody calling in. They must be pissed with what we're saying. This must be
last comment.
This must be Deuce. Hey, you are on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. I believe I know who we got in the building, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Adrian from LA.
I knew it.
Adrian, what's up, man?
Man, what's up? Hey, I was trying to email you, man, but I couldn't find the email address on there, so I was gonna shoot you mine or something. Yeah, but we'll do that in a second. I want to talk about Canelo, man. That gets under my skin. Every time I hear about that fool, it really gets under my skin, man. Really does. Just to let Jake know, man, my name's Adrian from LA. I'm Latino, Mexican American, and I'll tell you right now, man, Canelo he's a duck, man. That fool don't want to fight nobody. He don't want none of Benavidez. He never wanted any of Charlo. He didn't want any of Andrade. Come on, man. Who's this guy fought? Really? Who's he fought? What he fought? A 65-year-old Triple G's last fight or whatever? Come on, man. But it pisses me off, man. But they let him do what he wants. What is it? The WBC or whatever? They let him do whatever the hell he wants, and he knows it. And there's got to be some kind of cracking down on that crap. Sorry about that, but give me your take on that, man.
No, I was going to throw something at you, Jake, real quick. Do you think it's the fact that because I just thought about this myself, and I'm wondering if this is affecting my opinion. Do you think it's the fact that he's fought these European fighters, and maybe that's the issue with people, or is it that there's been some guys who have been available that we would have much rather see him in the ring with, that even if it didn't, culminate in him becoming undisputed, it would have added so much more to his legacy, like Benavidez, like Charlo. It feels like he actively avoided them. So maybe that's the reason why some of us, we diminish his resume, because there are fighters that could have been on his resume that were better than some of the opponents that he faced. What are your thoughts on that, Jake?
So I'll go back to his middleweight reign, and I always found it interesting that he was essentially the reason the WBC came up with the whole franchise title. That he was at the point he was supposed to fight Jermell Charlo. Jermell, I think he was the interim champ at the time. That was his mandatory, and they gave him this franchise belt and told Maul he was the full champ. The issue I always had at that time was Maul could have been a lot more vocal about it. He just seemed fine with the fact that, okay, well, screw it. Canelo's never going to fight me. They gave me this belt. I'm going to go fight the Brandon Adams and, Montiel's of the world or whatever. I always wish he was more vocal about it. Even when they asked him about it, he's like, all right, well, screw it. After the Plant fight, he's like, well, Canelo's not coming back to PBC. That fight will just come. It's almost like he doesn't want to lose that pay. He thinks that payday's somewhere in the future and doesn't want to lose it. It just seems out of character for him. I don't know. With the Andrade thing, though, because Canelo was vocal about it. He wanted to be the undisputed champion. That was always, he always wanted to be Mexico's first undisputed champion. He got to that point, he could afford Andrade. They were both on his own. There was no excuse for that. And Andrade was very vocal about it. And then the whole, all the sound bites that came from after, Canelo fought Billy Joe Saunders. And I'm going to throw this term out there. Like, Saunders just kind of got white privileged into that fight. Because he didn't, you can't say that he earned it. Like, his resume is weaker than Andrews, in my opinion. Maybe he has one or two better wins earlier, but his super middleweight resume was garbage. But yet he got waltzed right into that the fight with Canelo. And actually, he lost his belt because he failed the drug test when he was supposed to fight Andrade. And yet he's still the one that got, just marched right into the front of the line. So I am with the argument there that, he was avoiding the Andrade fight. He should have got criticized for avoiding Charlo at middleweight. But again, I always felt like Charlo wasn't vocal about it, like Devin Haney was when Lomachenko was awarded the franchise title, when Haney was waiting for that mandatory. He and Bill, especially Bill, they were like, Lomachenko's ducking us. Like, Charlo never really made that noise. So I felt like Canelo always kind of got left off the hook. And, as we see at every single WBC convention, they're going to let Canelo do whatever he wants. They went in, Eddie Reynoso told them, well, we're going to fight Makabu next at cruiserweight. So, and I was even dumb enough to believe, okay, well, maybe he's real about it. Wow, he's going to go all the way up to cruiserweight. Then he went and fought Bivol. He should have, because he probably would have had a better shot at it. But, it seems like every time he gets to a certain point where he can fight a better mandatory, there is like this sidestep. Like, now, granted, I'm not going to say he ducked Benavidez to fight Dimitri Bivol, because especially with the way that fight turned out. Like, Bivol is the epitome of, high risk and low reward. But, now we're back at that point. Oh, now all of a sudden he's back at the point, okay, well, John Ryder's mandatory. I'm going to go fight him. The only thing, and I've argued this as well, Andrade was in a position where the fight could have happened. He got injured. I understand that he couldn't fight Zach Parker in May because he got injured. But then when he had a chance to go back to it, he had no leverage. He put himself in that position where nobody really cared about his career anymore. That's why the purse bid was so low. Yeah. Queensberry knew they could bid the minimum. I still argue that Andrade should have invested in himself. He should have bet on himself. He knew he could have beat Zach Parker. And then, okay, now you're Canelo's mandatory. And the WBO said Canelo has to fight this mandatory by May 2023. So now if Canelo doesn't take that fight, you can't let him off the hook for that anymore. The WBO is on the hook to enforce that mandatory. Andrade's in a position to push it, but everyone just let Canelo off the hook. So it's like he keeps finding these opportunities. And again, Ryder is next in the rotation. All the sanctioning bodies agree. So Canelo's playing the game. So Benavidez, unfortunately, is going to get stuck. Caleb Plant, if he wins this weekend, then he's back to being the mandatory. So, we'll see what happens. But Canelo knows how to play the game, unfortunately.
Yeah. But you know what, though? Let me say something, too, though. It just seems like, okay, right now, Canelo, I think that if he fought Boo Boo right now, I think he can beat Boo Boo. Boo Boo doesn't really scare me right now at 168. He really doesn't. I mean, I thought he was a lot more deadly at 154 or whatever. But at 168, I don't know. I think Canelo can probably beat him. And so if I was Canelo, smart PR move, I probably would fight Boo Boo now, because Boo Boo's beatable. Boo Boo doesn't got no straight right now at 168. It doesn't seem like it. But when it comes to fighting Benavidez, he comes out with some bullshit where, I don't fight Mexicans no more. Come on, man. When has that ever been said before? I don't fight Mexicans. Come on, man. I mean, man, if you're gonna be down for a Mexican, then you're gonna give the other Mexican a big payday, man. Everybody knows if you fight Canelo, you get a payday. Give Benavidez a payday, man. He's a fellow countryman, apparently. Shoot, and Benavidez ain't even from Mexico. He's born in Phoenix or whatever. So he's American just like I am. Shoot. So man, I don't be playing that crap with Canelo, man. I'm tired of that guy just pulling all this bullshit all the time. But like I say, if I was him, I probably would fight Boo Boo right now, or Doo, whatever the hell his name is, because he's beatable right now. That's what I think. I mean, what do you think about Boo Boo right now? You think that Canelo can beat him? I think Canelo could beat Boo Boo.
I would take Canelo in that fight.
I'm sorry, I didn't think so. Yeah, no, I've always felt like Canelo. I've always felt like Canelo would win. It just, I guess it was just never worth it to him. Going back to Benavidez, I think if he knew he would get a payday, he would fly the Ecuadorian flag for that one. I think he'd put down the Mexican flag for one fight if it meant getting that payday. So I've never bought that excuse either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true, man. I hear you.
Yeah. Anything else you got for us, Adrian?
Nothing else, man. I just wanted to call in and send out some love to you. Yeah, I was going to tell you, man. My email is sportysuperfly328@gmail. So want to get it down later. You can look at the sportysuperfly328@gmail.com. But yeah, man. Just want to thank you guys for your time. Jason, Greg, you guys are the bomb. Hey, man, Jake, great to have you on the show. And I want to send a shout out to my dad out there in heaven. Love you, Dad. And my son, Jermell. Love you, son. You gentlemen have a real nice day. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And go Benavidez next Saturday, baby.
Appreciate it, Adrian. Thanks for the call, bro.
Adrian. Appreciate it, man. Much love, man. Bye-bye.
Later. Yeah. Oh, man, that's Adrian. He's one of our he calls pretty much every week, man. Every week. Man, shout out to Planet 619. Always thought Canelo not fighting Mexican was really not him wanting to risk losing and that fighter inheriting a portion of his fan base. Just my opinion. Wow. It's an interesting take. Very interesting take. Yeah. So let me pause here real quick. We got 182 people in the building, 125 likes. If you haven't had the opportunity, please hit the like button or the dislike button if you don't like the content, but make sure you engage. And if you're new to the channel, this is AM Sports Media, the Angry Man Podcast. We drop fresh content every day that I'm sure you will like. Make sure that you join us. I also want to plug a couple of people.
Sorry, go ahead, Greg. My bad. Go ahead.
I also want to plug a couple of people who I would consider affiliates. So the Mic Check Podcast, T Ward, I'm pretty sure he's in the building. Make sure that you drop your link in the chat. Also, Chicken Talk, Lefty. We call him Chicken Talk and Lefty. But on Saturday at 11 a.m. on Twitter, he has a Spaces with Jake. Great show. You'll find us there all the time. And then on YouTube, it's called Chicken Talk. So make sure you guys go and subscribe. All right. Were you about to say something, Jason?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something to you, both of you guys. I saw in the chat, someone said, so Bandele said, Errol is a C-level fighter to Bud, but it's going to be hitting him with that straight right or a 2-3 all night before the stoppage. What are y'all thoughts on that?
I'll go ahead and go first. So I've always thought this fight was going to be a close fight. Bud has gaps in his game in terms of like how he counter punches and things like that. I feel like he leaves himself open sometimes. Bud doesn't necessarily have the lateral movement that he used to have. I think that's an advantage for Errol Spence. And I think Errol is underrated in terms of his defensive ability. Errol doesn't get hit a lot. If you look at most of his fights, he comes out pretty much with a clean face. So Errol's really good at taking angles in his attack and making sure that he closes distance. And once he gets on the inside, man, he's brilliant. So you don't become an Olympian if you don't have skills. And for whatever reason, some people try to present Errol Spence as a fighter that doesn't have a lot of skill. Terence Crawford, to me, is more of a fighter that's more athletic than he is skillful. I see a lot of gaps and holes in his game, and if he wasn't as athletic as he is, I think he would get caught a lot more. And as he declines, I think you'll start to see that a lot more, similar to like Roy Jones and Floyd. As Roy started to decline in terms of his athleticism, you started to see him get hit more, and I mean, he just fell off a cliff. Floyd, as he declined in his athleticism, he was able to rely on all of those skills that he had. So I just feel like Crawford, he's skillful. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say he's not skillful, but I think a lot of what he does is predicated on his athleticism. So all that to say, I don't think you're right. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, Errol is definitely far from a C-level fight. And in fact, I think it's gotten to the point. I always felt like for all the noise that Lomachenko was supposed to be pound for pound the best and top rank pushing that, I always felt like that was a disservice to Terence Crawford, especially at 140. Granted, okay, to your earlier point, he didn't fight the best guys at 140. He fought the best guys that were there. Maybe, those wins, none of them aged well. But at that point, I felt like everything he did, the eye test, he was the best fighter in the world. Once he got to 147, everything you just mentioned, all those flaws in his game, they've been exposed because he's not the bigger fighter anymore. I felt like Errol kind of, I felt like he surpassed him. He's always been the best welterweight, and I feel like he's surpassed him in the pound for pound sense. And that's remarkable considering Errol had a life-threatening injury, car accident, overcame that, got back into the ring, had to overcome, a damaged eye, whatever, came back from that and did what he did against Yordenis Ugas. Now, granted, I would pick Terence to beat Yordenis Ugas, but for Errol to overcome everything he's overcome and still be, the best, where he is in the welterweight division, that just says, a lot about his resolve. So weirdly, I don't know. Like, I always felt like it would be Errol would be the one who would fizzle out first, but for some, like from 2019 onward, like it got to the point, it's like, well, damn, the longer it takes for this fight to happen, maybe it does continue to favor Errol Spence. And I continue to believe that. So I think that's as close to a 50-50 fight as there is. I don't know who I would pick. Weirdly, a lot of like fans and media always seem to side with Spence, and a lot of fighters that I've spoken to seem to side with Crawford. But all of them believe it's like, a 51-49 margin. Like nobody believes it's a blowout either way.
I don't believe.
No, totally agree. Yeah, I think it's a close fight. I've been on record saying I'm going with Spence on that. Yeah. Spence is far from a C-level fighter. Also, Big Mac, aka Bo Mac, called Mean Machine a C-level fighter. So if you're saying Spence is a C-level fighter, what the hell is Mean Machine? Mean Machine is arguably Bud's toughest fight on his resume. So I hope he trolled. I hope that was just a troll job by Vandalay.
My only hesitance, and I think this will change on April 27th, PBC fighters do not have a very good track record once they fight outside their own universe in big fights. I'm not talking about like fights where they're supposed to win against, like a Golden Boy fight or whatever, but like in 50-50 fights against someone from another platform, if you look at the record, it's like they're definitely below that 500 mark. But I do believe that'll change April 22nd, and then maybe if Errol and Terence have a fight. But I'm going to keep saying if. I'm not saying when.
Yeah, hope.
I like I said, I wanted it. I thought it was for real when it was going to happen in November. I kind of checked out after that. So if it happens, it's a bonus at this point. But
so Jake, you brought up a very interesting. You made an interesting comment, and this is something that I've been harping on for a while in terms of Terence Crawford. One of the things that make him so dangerous is that reach. I mean, he has an incredible reach for even at 147 pounds, but especially at 135 and 140. And a lot of people try to give him credit for like the Gamboa fight, but we know Gamboa was at his best at 126 pounds. Crawford fought him at 135, if I'm not mistaken. And so he had a huge reach and size advantage over him. And then when I look at his 140-pound run, some of those fighters, Delerme and Dongo, who was the Postal, those fighters subsequently, they lost a lot of fights after that. So let me ask you this. Do you think this was just these fighters were ruined after Terence Crawford, or maybe they weren't quite as good as advertised and they were more promotion than they were substance? What are your thoughts on that?
It just always seemed like the guys that Terence fought, again, I'm not here to diminish anyone's resume, but it's like the guy, it was almost like more opportunistic. Like he fought Ricky Burns because Ricky Burns had the title, but Ricky Burns arguably lost to Beltran, and I think it was the fight before that. Then when he got to Ray Beltran, it was like, okay, well, they were regarded as the best two lightweights in the world, but like it was like 1-2. So there was a massive gap, but he gets credit because you can only beat the guys that are there. Kind of like Klitschko when he was heavyweight champion, he reigned for so long. It's like, well, he can't go back in time and get Muhammad Ali to fight in 2008. He can fight the guys that are there, and I think that's what it's always been with Terence. So I don't even know if it's that he's ruined these guys. It's just he fought whoever's like at 140. Like Postal, I thought did a little bit decent. I don't think he was ruined after the Crawford fight. He still hovered around as a contender. I thought he gave Jose Ramirez a very tough fight. It was probably close to a draw. I think it was a majority decision for Ramirez, but I think handled himself well in the aftermath. But no, yeah, there's some guys that Terence has absolutely ruined, but some guys I think they were just the best at the time, but it just wasn't a very good lot. I think that's all it really was.
Yeah. My thing is, so people think that we're Terence Crawford haters. We're not. Jason and I, when we started off this channel, we were actually, I would say we were more neutral with Terence Crawford, but I think the reason why his resume is attacked, similar to what I said about Canelo, well, not necessarily similar, but Terence Crawford fans, and people like Roy Jones and stuff like that, they have just praised his resume. Gamboa, Beltran, he was 140 pounds, and they try to elevate him to this level for whatever reason, whether it's because they feel like he should get more of a purse split with Errol Spence, or whatever the case is. And I think that's why people start to point out some of these things in terms of like his resume, because when you start elevating a fighter so high that, especially if it feels like you're elevating him above where he really should be, then people are going to start being they're going to scrutinize the resume more and more and more. So I kind of feel like that's part of the reason why there's been some pushback in regards to his resume, because people in the general public, like a Roy Jones, praises the resume when it's okay, but it's not amazing.
Yeah, I think it just becomes like kind of a talking point, by then. It's like, it's just something you say in an interview, but then you go back, it's like, why'd you say that? Just like, because you think that's what needs to be said. But no, his resume has always been like the weakest part of his game, in my opinion.
I agree. Man, I don't know what's going on, Jake. You must be intimidating these folks, man. Usually they would have been calling in. The phone lines would be blazing right now. I
guess I'm too agreeable. I don't know what it is.
They may be scared of all the knowledge, Jake.
Yeah. They're like, we got
guys,
Jake in the building.
The phones lines are open, guys. It's up to you guys to give us a call.
You're welcome to call in.
So what else do we have, Jason? Anything else we want to cover in depth? Do we need to go to the chat to see what these folks are in here talking about? How do we want to play this?
So one thing, hey, Jamal Taylor, that's one thing we've been plotting, to break down Spence's resume and other resumes as well. So don't worry, it's in the chamber. We'll
do that. So let me ask you this, Jake, while we got you on here. There's been a lot of we got somebody calling in. I have to come back to that. You are on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. We got Jake in the building. Who do we have on the line?
Hey, there's Donald again from the Bay Area.
Hey, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, not much. Just excited about the Benavidez and Plant fight coming up. I'm gonna be in the house for that. I think this is the first 50-50 fight we had in a minute. What do you guys think about that?
What do we think about the fight in general, or?
Yeah, because I think I think this is pretty much like a 50-50 fight. I think this is like the first 50-50 fight we had in a while. Like I can't remember fighting like a major fight that's like 50. Like I really don't know who's gonna win. I kind of lean for David, but man, the plan is kind of on a little streak right now, so I don't know.
Yeah, so let me first of all say this: we're gonna have a fight party. Jason and I are gonna have a fight party, so make sure you guys attend that, because we're definitely gonna be covering that live, man. I'm very excited about this fight. I have Benavidez winning this fight. I think the pressure, the punches and bunches will ultimately make him victorious. But I mean, it's a close fight. I mean, some people feel that Plant will be able to outbox him. I don't know, man. It's a close fight. I'm leaning toward Benavidez. I believe he's going to win. So those are my thoughts on that. Jason, what about you? And then we'll go to Jake.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Benavidez as well, just because I don't know if Caleb seems to tire. Just based on the Canelo fight, that type of pressure like that, I see Benavidez pressing him a lot too. Benavidez is longer, bigger than Canelo. Not saying he's necessarily better than Canelo, but he's bigger. He presents a different problem for him. I did like the way Caleb changed and adjusted against all those old Anthony Durrell. He did show different changes and styles to his fight. So it'll be interesting because Caleb is a very smart fighter. He does the sweet science pretty good. So I'm still picking Benavidez, possibly by a late round stoppage as well.
Yeah. It just kind of scares me. I hope that he seemed like he may be off his game. I don't know if he just doing that press conference stuff just for show, but it's like he may be too emotional and may get off his strategy.
Yeah,
that's key.
Yeah, he's mentioned that in a couple of interviews. He mentioned that in our interview, and he's basically saying that there's no need to worry about that. He's going to be professional, and then I think Jake gave his opinion as well that he also believes he's going to be professional, and he gave an example when he fought Anthony Durrell that that had a bit of emotion in it as well, and he came in and executed the game plan. So I think he's going to be fine.
That's I just he seemed like a little too. I mean, I understand that I know they got bad blood, but he seemed just a little bit too wired up. It's almost like he may just like the strategy may just go out the window, and he may just make it personal. That's the only thing.
Feel you, gotcha.
But then you guys made a point too a couple of shows ago that Plant, he kind of seemed like he kind of off his game because usually he usually talk trash. Like in a Canelo fight, I mean, I know that's Canelo. A lot of people won't get up for Canelo, but even at the Anthony Durrell fight, he was talking trash. But this fight, he kind of seemed, I'm gonna be straight up, he kind of seemed a little scared, especially when David Benavidez had gotten his face when it almost came to blows. It was almost like he had put his hand in his pocket, like he was kind of scared. So
I noticed that. I noticed that body. Yeah, I noticed that body language as well. It's really difficult to tell whether or not a fighter is scared or not. I mean, because fighters play mind games, man. So maybe he felt like that was appropriate for Anthony Durrell, and he didn't feel like it was appropriate for David Benavidez just because of the mind games that he's trying to play. I have no idea. We will find out Saturday night, though, won't we?
Yeah, that calmness of Caleb can be interpreted multiple ways. Him being calm can be like. He's like, oh man, he's gonna bring that shit to David, as well as some people might say like, well, maybe he was quiet because he was scared, but I don't think Caleb's scared on that.
I was just kind of just noticing, but this is definitely gonna be a fight, and like I said, I'm gonna be in the house, and I'm gonna be in the house for that, and I want to go to that Tank fight, but I don't know if y'all heard them tickets. Oh my god, you gotta be rich to go to that, man. Man, so I'll be watching that from the house because those tickets, man, I don't know who they think. It was Ali or Frazier or something. I don't know who they think. I know they won't get me for that. But
yeah, man. Anything else you want to share with the people?
Oh no, I was just enjoying the show, and I just wanted to get y'all take on the Benavidez and Plant fight.
All right, appreciate that, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, guys, have a good show.
You too. Later. Man, the phone line started heating up, man. We had the 302 call in, the 757, the 850. The phone lines are open. Give us a call back. Oh, there we go. They're starting to heat up. You are on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. We got Jake in the building. Who do we have on the line?
The boxing source checking in. What's going on, brothers?
Oh, what's going on, bro?
What's up, Jack?
Oh, all good, man. All good. Just checking in with Jason, Greg, and brother Jake, man. What's going on, Jake?
What's up, man? How you been?
Doing all good. I see that y'all was talking about Benavidez and Plant, but, some people talking about it as a 50-50 fight. I feel like it is, too, but, Plant, I think Plant is just being calm and collected with what he's doing. He had the thing where he, bought that DavidBenavidez.com and switched it to, for him selling his, merchandise. So he's just trying to get in Benavidez's head, and some people feel like it's working.
It may be. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say with Benavidez. I mean, everything that I've seen with him, man, he seemed really calm. The only time it felt like he was really animated was at the press conference. So, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna make for an interesting night to kind of see how things develop and whether or not he's gonna be emotional in the ring, or if Caleb's gonna. The more I think about it, it's really hard for me to say that a fighter. I don't think these fighters are really scared of each other. They may be scared of losing, but I don't think they're necessarily scared of each other. So Caleb's probably not afraid. It's just more so about David Benavidez and whether or not he's going to bring an energy that could be detrimental to his game plan.
Yeah, and the thing about it is like this fight for Benavidez, this is like his biggest stage that he's had in his career so far. He's won the WBC belt on a couple of occasions, but hasn't had a fight of this magnitude. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in this particular atmosphere in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
The one thing I want to go to with like Caleb, obviously he has the Canelo fight, but it's like he was there and he shouldn't settle for that. He still needs a win on the level of David Benavidez. So they both have something to prove in this fight. Caleb doesn't just need to come back. Like you said, there's no shame in losing to Canelo. But absent that, like, where's your best win? You're still looking at, Uzcategui, whatever. That's going on, what is that, 4 years ago? So, and that should not be anyone's best win, especially going into a fight like this. But, Benavidez, his situation has been he couldn't get the guys in the ring. So, they both have a lot to prove. To me, and I appreciate that I got let off the hook. Nobody asked me my prediction before, but I am going to ride the fence. I feel like we could see emotions come into play depending on how the first 5 rounds play out. I think they're both going to stick to their game plans, like maybe even up until the 6th round, the first half. If Caleb is out boxing Benavidez, then maybe that emotion comes out. He gets sloppy, and then Caleb picks him apart. But again, can Caleb go 12 rounds? If Benavidez is imposing his will early, does that force Caleb out of his humble? Because I didn't think he looked spectacular against Errol. He looked kind of shaky up until, like, nobody saw that knockout coming. I know Darrell is where he is, but of all people, Caleb Plant delivering the knockout of the year. I mean, who had that betting slip?
Facts, yeah.
Yeah, I certainly didn't. Yeah, I was there live at the Barclays Center, and when that fight went down, it was like, a good number of rounds where it just seemed like nothing happened. Nobody, was really seriously hurt nobody, and then all of a sudden that double left comes through, and it's like, oh snap, Yeah. So that's the thing that we gotta, see what's gonna happen with it. Either one of these guys. I'm more concerned about the footwork of Benavidez. I want to see like how his ability to cut off the ring is against someone that moves like Plant is.
Yeah.
Very true.
So that's mainly what I got for y'all, man. Just like I said, supporting the family and everything. So I'll catch y'all on the back end.
All right, man.
Yeah. And I gotta give James a shout out, man. He has become the conference call or virtual press conference king. Every virtual press conference, my man is up in there. There's some issues you and me were the only two. I think the last one you were the only one on there, but he is on every single one, man. Shout out to you, James.
Oh yeah. The one with the trainers on there. Yeah, I was like the only one to get in on that. So for sure.
Yeah, I was supposed to log into that one, man, and I actually had a freaking business lunch that got scheduled last minute, and I couldn't join it, but. Yeah, man. No, you guys go check out the Boxing Source, man. This is our guy here, man. He has great content as well.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, and I'll see y'all on the next conference call. All right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Later.
Tomorrow.
All right, for sure.
Later. All right, man. That was JR from the Boxing Source. I always be about to say voice. Dog it. Yeah. The Boxing Source. Make sure you go subscribe and drop your link in the chat section, man. All right, so we had somebody else call in. So guys, the phone lines are open right now. I was going somewhere, Jason, but I forgot where I was going. Oh, I know where I was going. Showtime. Jake, I wanted to ask you about Showtime. There's been a lot said about, the demise of Showtime, and well, we got somebody calling in, so let's take this. Hey, you are on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. Who we have in the building? Hello?
Yeah.
Who we got in the building?
You ready?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All righty. My question was related to the Plant Benavidez fight. If Plant does the opposite of what you guys think he's going to do, which is try to box around that big ring that he asked for, and instead steps into Benavidez's chest, do you guys think that increases his chance, decreases his chance? Does that increases his chance of keeping more energy instead of trying to dance around that ring? Will he maybe pressure later in the fight, and that'll increase his chance? Just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. Great show. Love you guys. Jake Donovan, respect you too. I'm out.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate that.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, let's answer that really quickly. We got somebody calling in. Hey caller, just give us 1 second. We want to go ahead and answer this caller's question. I've never seen Plant fight like that, not that I can remember. So I don't know if he has an inside game where he can just step into his chest. You would think, in theory, that would be beneficial to him, because I don't ever recall seeing David Benavidez with an amazing inside game as well. So I don't know. I mean, it could possibly be beneficial. But I've never seen either one of these fighters display an inside game that would make me think that the fight would play out in that manner. So that's my thought on it. Jake, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, like, if the more that Caleb can force David out of his comfort zone, like, the more that's going to play to his advantage. I mean, because as much as we keep saying it's a 50-50 fight, if you look at predictions, I'd say it's like 90-10 in terms of people picking Benavidez. And I'm not sure I'm there. I'm not going to offer a prediction. I'm gonna ride the fence. Look, I've known Caleb far too long. I get along very well. I've interviewed Benavidez for every single one of his fights. I have a great relationship with his entire team. So I'm going to cop out. But like anything Caleb could do to just completely force David out of his comfort zone is obviously going to work to Caleb's advantage. I think, obviously Caleb would expect David to try to come, bum rush him and make it as physically impulsive as possible. I think that's the one area where we wouldn't expect that of Caleb. So I'm not saying Benavidez isn't prepared for any scenario, but that might be the one scenario where that would catch him off guard, especially if Caleb took that approach early. But I'm with you. It would surprise me if the fight played out that way that early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. It's definitely not a bad idea. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I really haven't seen too much of Caleb's inside game to see how that would benefit him. You know? So, I mean, it definitely would keep him from gassing out. But that also depends if they're up close, how much is David going to be roughing him up or going to his body as well. So it'll be interesting. That's definitely not the game plan. I'm expecting Caleb for sure.
Exactly. So we got the 757 in the building. 757. Who do we have on the line?
This is Dwayne in Hampton, Virginia. How y'all doing, man?
We're doing well, man. How are you?
Dwayne, appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I was listening to what you guys was talking about, Earl and Bud. I think both of them underrated, really. I got that a 50-50 fight, but when you're talking about resumes, y'all going to have to come up with somebody who has a better resume than Bud, because he's the only fighter in history, boxing right now, that is ever about to clean up 2 divisions, maybe 3. So his resume is untouchable by any fighter. There's no fighter that has his resume. So that's what making me lean toward Bud, plus that 74-inch reach. But, man, I think EJ should leave Al. I say that on every channel I go on, so he can go be great by himself. I think he is the face of boxing.
Yeah, so to me, again, I always rely on context. If you just look at Terence Crawford, just on paper, I agree that he is a tremendous fighter, just on paper. If you peel back the layers and you look at the context and the details, you find that there's some holes in that resume. And I would venture to say that if you just look at both fighters on paper, that being Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, I would say just on paper, Canelo's resume is better. So those are my thoughts on that. I'm gonna pass it to the other two guys. What do you guys thought on what the caller had to say there?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Greg, context matters. For me, if that's the case, you could say AB is almost a Hall of Famer for what he's done. He's a 2-3 weight champion. Four. I mean, my bad. So I mean, looking at resume, you're like, oh, he has to be one of the best ever. But when you look at the context, I'll be like, AB hasn't. He fell short. So I mean, and you're saying about to be, he hasn't. Bud hasn't gone undisputed in three weight classes yet. He has to get there to be the first one to do that in history. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I'm interested early. With Bud, I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yeah. Jake was trying to talk. Go ahead, Jake.
I was going to let Fred go ahead and speak, but I'll get to it real quick. With Bud, like I said, it's just the stat line is impressive, but then, to your point, Greg, it's like once you look at the wins, it's like, okay, well, you look at who he beat as opposed to what he accomplished. His accomplishments far outweigh, you know, what he's actually done in the ring. That's my opinion. Who he's beaten in the ring, I should say.
Exactly. I think both guys benefit greatly if they fight each other, because if Spence wins, it adds to his legacy. He beat someone who was a pound for pound champion, and he becomes undisputed at welterweight. If Terence Crawford wins, he becomes 2 times undisputed at 140 and 147. So, I mean, it's a beneficial fight for both guys' legacy. And I personally believe no matter what Terence Crawford says, he needs that fight, and Errol Spence needs that fight as well. Now, who needs to fight more? Well, we've done a video on that that'll drop at some point, so we're not going to reveal how we feel about that. But yeah, I don't know. And to your second point, no, Errol Spence should not leave Al Heyman, in my opinion. Al Heyman and PBC has done an amazing job with most of their fighters. There's a reason why a lot of people are trying to fight their fighters, because their fighters tend to be, you know, the premier fighters in the sport. Errol Spence, you got Tank Davis, so forth and so on. So why would you leave Al Heyman, someone who has done an amazing job for your career? To me, that doesn't make sense.
I feel like, you know, Errol brought this up too, that he had the opportunity to sign with Top Rank. And I think Top Rank does an amazing job with a lot of their fighters, especially building a guy up from prospect to champion. But he brought it up that he could have signed his Top Rank, and his father told him, no, you're going to go this route. You know, you should go this route instead. I feel like if he did, the relationship probably would have ended the exact same way that Terrence's relationship with Top Rank ended.
Agreed.
That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Caller, anything else you got for us?
No, that's it. I want you guys got some good content. I'll finish by saying this right here. It's just my opinion that if, because right now Terence Crawford is the talk of the town. If Errol Spence leave Al, I think all eyes will go on him, and he'll go ahead and ascend to his greatness and become the face of boxing. But, you know, that's my opinion. Thanks, guys, and, you know, y'all keep it kicking, man.
All right, man.
I'll say this. If Errol Spence did decide to go, like, you know, Deontay Wilder made a point to say, look, he's with PBC, but he's a promotional free agent. If Errol Spence went that route, he'd be the most sought after free agent in the sport. I'm not saying he should leave PBC at all by any stretch, but if he did ever decide to go shop himself around, I think promoters would fall over each other to try to sign him.
Yep, totally agree with that, Jake. So we have the 206 in the building. You're on the line with Jason and Greg and Jake on the Angry Man podcast. Who do we have in the building?
You got your boy Band Up, man. What's up with you guys, man? Straight from Seattle.
What's going on, bro? What's going on with you?
What's good, man? Good. I'm finally getting able to talk to you.
Band Up was in the chat saying he don't be agreeing with us, so I know this is gonna be a lively debate.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I try to, you know what I mean? I'm going to give you a little background. I don't know too much. I don't know a lot of history about boxing. But I have been trying to pick it up for about the last 5 years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. About 5 years, and I'm still trying to learn. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be I'm trying to get out that, well, you guys say casual fan phase, you know what I mean? Casual fan, to try to be a real, you know what I mean, boxing analysis. But I'm going to go from the eye test, and I'm going to go from what I see. I see that boy Terence. I see he got faster feet than that boy Errol. And I think he has faster hands. That's what I think will be the difference. Now, don't get me wrong. Errol is amazing. This is the thing about it. I tell Blue Blood and everybody, I tell Monty this, I tell everybody this when I hop on their chat. I think it's the unstoppable force, meaning the unmovable object, meaning that Errol Spence is an unstoppable, and he goes into that fight and he just goes forward. And he knows what he's doing. It's been said that when he punches humans, it looks like he's punching in the bag. You know what I'm saying? Something to be reckoned with. What he did to Ugas cannot be slept on. I think people are a little bit sleeping on that a little bit. You know what I mean? A little bit. What he did to Ugas. But you got this boy that got power in both hands with hand speed and faster feet. I don't see that unstoppable force being able to compete with that. You running into a lot of shots. I mean, am I missing something, you guys?
Well,
which Bud did you watch?
Huh?
When did you start watching Bud?
I started watching Bud. My first actual live fight with Bud, I think, was the one right before his last one, right before Porter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the first fight I watched with Bud. And I started picking up on videos, you know what I mean? After I started getting into, you know what I mean, trying to figure out what boxing is, I started watching videos of Bud. I started watching videos of Errol. I watched them both full fights, you know what I mean, what they both did to Porter. I watched full fights, what they did to, what that boy name is, Kelbrook, and then I seen what they, you know what I mean. What I seen what you know, Blue Blood hypes up, you know what I mean. What Errol did to Danny Garcia, you know what I mean. And I see what Bud did to other opponents like Gamboa. And I want to say with that one, who did that do? Who did Bud get? Everybody said Bud got dropped by. I think that was more of a push than him actually getting dropped by that dude.
No, he got dropped.
That was Mean Machine. He got dropped.
Yeah, he got
dropped.
Oh no, I don't mean the clean real drop. You know what I mean? Like sit somebody down.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's what you're saying. But I mean, over time, I've been watching Bud for all these times. To me, Bud slowed down. You know, his feet have slowed down. He stays in the pocket for a lot longer than he used to. I don't know if it's because of the competition and he doesn't fear their power. Because if he stays in the pocket with Spence is going to get him. Because that's Spence domain right there. I think Bud be better to stay on the outside against Spence and try to outbox Spence. You get Spence too close, he's going to beat you up bad.
Yeah, I don't think, and that's what I say with the unstoppable force. I know Spence is going to try to go for that. I know Spence. You know what I mean? And it's just up to Bud to really to keep that movement up. And Blue Blood points out how Blood doesn't. Blue said, you know what I mean? He go when he, you know, and that's one of the main guys I listen to. He says that Bud doesn't stay in the southpaw, you know what I mean, a lot. And actually, to be real with you, Blue's actually going for Spence. You know, much as he talk about Bud, but he actually going for Spence. You know what I mean? And I got into it with him too. And I'm like, yeah, but I think that's just his choosing. He's choosing not to. It's like when he finds out, you know, he switched from orthodox southpaw. He's like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what's gonna work. Okay, this is gonna knock him out, so I'm gonna stick here. If I don't got it, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's
and is that do you looked at as slow down?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the same point. I just go back to the same point that I made. It's a close fight. I think Spence is underrated. I think his style is underrated. And people say that Spence just come forward. That's not true. And if you look at the Danny Garcia fight, he was going forward and moving backwards. So I think Spence has a lot of levels to his game that are just not appreciated. Those are my thoughts on that. MVO is trying to call in. Okay. Well, what's his area code? Is it 850? Is it 857 rather? We'll see. Caller, anything else you want to share with the people?
No, you know, that was pretty much it. I got actually a real quick question. It might be just a yes or no. Was that, I seen a little promo about Deontay Wilder and what's that boy name? And Francis Ngannou. Is that even a thing going on?
Not that I'm aware of. Jake, are you aware of that's a thing right now?
They're in talks. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but they have had, like, Ngannou has acknowledged that of everyone he's spoken to about making his boxing debut, that the talks with Wilder have been the most serious, or at least been the most attractive, I should say.
Gotcha. All right. Anything else, caller?
No, that's it for you guys. Thank you guys, though.
All right. Appreciate you calling in, bro. Thank you.
Yes.
So we got MVO trying to call in from the 646. So the next call I'm going to take is only going to be him. 646, if you're calling in, that's the only call I'm taking right now. Call in, bro. He got Jason. This was the one that got on me about my cell phone connection. say my cell phone connection was bad. I was like, man, this dude a hater. No, this is an 857 calling in. You sure it's 646? Well, let me just take this one. Maybe it's him. You're on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. Who we got in the building?
What's up, Greg? It's Walt from Boston, the FSU lover. You know I am, bro.
Oh, man, what's going on with you, bro? FSU in the building. Miami sucks. We know what it is.
But I was just listening. Like, you guys did a podcast over a week and talked about Terence Crawford's resume.
Mm-hmm.
And but I hear a lot of people call. So I heard somebody calling in talking about his footwork against like the bum bashes that he fights. So, like, I watched Terence Crawford from the start, and like the point you guys were making the other day about about the guys that he fought at 140 and 147, it's almost like Devin Haney. This is Devin Haney's first real fight coming up. Terence Crawford's, to me, first real fight against anybody that I've seen that's a top caliber dude will be Errol Spence. Because Sean Porter was about to be announced when he fought Terence Crawford.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I'm not saying Terence Crawford is no scrub. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, I watched Terence Crawford when he talked about not fighting Errol. He said clearly, I don't get in tough fights. So I think Terence Crawford's going to go Alex Rocha next, Blair the Flair Cobb, and then he might fight somebody else. Unless they throw retirement money at him, I don't see him fighting Errol Spence.
Hey, I've been doubtful about this fight happening.
Yeah.
I want it to happen, but I've been doubtful since probably last October.
So that name I didn't mention before when I said there's a fight
about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Wasn't Blue Blood for like years talking about how better Errol was than?
That's what I heard. I don't really follow Blue Blood, so I can't tell you.
Well,
exactly
I try to flip through a lot, so I give everybody a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Blue Blood for years wearing strapped down, man down shirts and all this stuff. And then as soon as he got a check, it seemed like he was talking about Crawford, the best dude in boxing.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to keep it real, man. It's like if you're watching Crawford beat up dudes who've been brutally knocked out 3 times and got whipped up by Lamar Peterson, and then you're watching Errol come off a car accident going in there with the number 2, number 3 dude. You just gotta, I've been watching boxing for like 50 years, man. It's like,
yeah.
And to me, Crawford's nice, but I just think he looks at the way Errol be beating on dudes. He don't want none of that, man. He just don't. It's like, I'm just looking forward to, some real good fights, the Tank fight and, Lomachenko Dev, which is a 50-50 fight. Don't think that a lot of people think Dev's just going to whoop Lomachenko's behind. If Lomachenko's 85 to 90% of himself, Dev might finally be in a real fight to me. So, y'all have a good day, man. Thanks for the content, man.
I appreciate
you all
the time, bro. Thank you.
Hey, Greg, real quick, what you about to say, Jake?
I said, he was on the money. I purposely left out Black Cobb's name, but that was if Golden Boy did sign into a 3 or 5 fight contract, Black Cobbs was definitely on that list. So
I had a feeling.
Walt was right on the money. I give it to him.
All right, hold on. We got somebody 443 calling. 1 second. 1 second. Hey, we got 190 people in the building, 161 likes. If you get the opportunity, please hit the like button or the dislike button if you don't like the content, but I'm pretty sure that you do. And also, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It's the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we're always dropping fresh new content every day. We got the 443 in the building. Who do we have on the line?
My name is Denise Williams.
Hey, Denise, how's it going?
Going great. My first time, calling in.
Is this Denise that we usually see in the chat, right? This is Denise that we always see in the chat, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
okay.
No.
Gotcha. So what do you got for us, Denise?
Well, I just wanted to talk about what I know about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, in my opinion, from studying all their fights separately, my opinion, I feel that Errol Spence, this whole team knows that this is really a big risk for Errol because he's never lost a fight, and this is something that's like a challenge that they're not sure that they can make sure that he feels confident. They're not confident when it comes to Terence Crawford because of Terence Crawford, like nonchalant way of saying either we're gonna fight or we're not gonna fight, and you do what you have to do. I think he's just making sure he do what he has to do for himself. But he's always wanted to fight Errol Spence. Always. And he still do. Right? And I know that for a fact that no matter what, he's confident just like Errol Spence, and I really like both of them. Errol Spence is, I know that he really wants that fight with Terence Crawford too, because even though PBC is trying to like push that fight with him and Donovan, I see that Errol Spence is still talking to Terence Crawford or whatever on social media, and I know for a fact that Errol Spence really, really wants to fight Terence Crawford no matter how it turns out, no matter what, because he feared no challenge that he really, really wants. I see that in Errol Spence. No matter what people say or who speaks against him as far as not winning, he don't care. But he is with PBC. Heyman, he respects that. It's like a whole connection of like conflict. And in my opinion, it does. For me, I really respect Errol Spence and his grounds of how he feels and sticking to his guns regardless of what they say and how they have it set up. And I think personally that because I think he's worried about if he can beat Terence Crawford or not. It's about him sticking to what he wants to do with his career in boxing. Because it's not about it, a loss, it's about he fought the best no matter what. And Terence Crawford, he just never had that proper backing. And he was unfortunate in that case. And I think because of all his resume, that's what people really looked at. But it's so much more to him that he wasn't given an opportunity to get to. Some of it probably wasn't his fault. It's the business, so whatever. My thing is, if they are talking, that's not enough. That's not enough. It has to be that some type of confirmation, documentation, contract, and but I feel him being with it. No matter what, at this point, he's not worried either way, but he always won these, like whatever. If it can't happen, it can't happen. But I see and understand he has to keep himself, going physically. Keep that fight. He needed a fight last year. He did what he had to do. I don't think he was playing behind their back. It was just in case. He had a back plan. Well, his family, his business, whatever it is. Same thing for Errol Spence. He already had everything set up no matter what happens. Everybody make sure they okay. And my thing is a lot that's misunderstood. And, everybody got their own opinion. But what I see, because I'm from poverty, the hood, the worst zones of Harlem, New York City, early 60s. I've seen so much as a little girl, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, junkies, stealing, fighting, killing people. I've seen so much and lived and probably never worried about if I was going to be all right. Just lived on the edge with my parents and my sisters and brothers. I see Bud being where his origination is. He likes and really have a passion for what he's doing originally before he even went to the amateurs or whatever. It was already in him. I see Errol Spence as a determined individual no matter what. He wants to do what he feels he needs to do, and he sticks to his guns. I think he needs to go for what it is that he really wants, because at the end of the day, you're gonna look back at your life or your resume or what happened and say, "Dang, I shoulda, woulda, coulda."
Yep. No, totally understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that. That sentiment. It sounds
feel
like
that he got to come up. He has to come up to speak for himself in such a way that Al Heyman has to understand that it's not about if he loses how it's going to affect PBC, because they invested a lot into Errol Spence. And I realized that Terence Crawford was learning immediately after he left Golden Boy Productions. He was learning. He was his own boss. He got his lawyer. He was like, he's not taking this. He wants that. And a lot of what I see is he's learning along the way based on his decisions and what he's going to accept and what he's not going to accept and how long he's going to delay. He's just winging it as he goes. He's winging it as he goes. And guess what? Al Heyman knows that. Al Heyman knows that, and he knows that, and also Floyd Mayweather. That's why he wanted to sign him, because if he signed, if he agreed with Floyd Mayweather, then it wouldn't have mattered. That fight would have already happened last year. You know why? Because it still would have been PBC getting, that credit. Because he was signed with PBC for that fight or whatever, couple of fights. But because he didn't, that's where, they put whatever in the game, gotta wait, make sure that he's not affiliated with the other, criminal or whatever from overseas. And all of that was like extra and understood. But at the same time, I understand Al Heyman too. He want to make sure that he's covered with his business and do whatever he has to do by any means necessary. He already was really a nice person, educate you. He means well and all that, but he's not going to let you mess up or be like put any kind of throw a monkey wrench in his game, his business. He don't care who the disaster business person. And I respect that because I'm the same way when it comes to me, my kids, what I have to do, and I'm sure everybody else is, but it's not what you do. It's how you do it.
No, totally understand that, man. So we need to move on to the next caller, though, man. But
go to Al Heyman with a plan of when you talk to him.
Yeah, totally understand that, man.
Either way, whatever happens.
So, ma'am, totally appreciate the call and the information. It sounds like you're pulling for both guys. So we need to move on to the next call, but I really appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
So how could I get to the Angry Man next time? Exactly at 4 or right before?
Yeah, just go click on, if you look at the live stream, just go click on the icon up there at the top where you can see our logo, and that'll take you to our YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
What's your name? Who are you? I don't know who I'm talking to.
This is Greg.
Oh, Greg, you work with that channel.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. So we had someone else that was calling in, and I think we're going to maybe go for another 10 minutes. I know Jake is a busy man. We can't hold him on here too long. You are on the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. Who do we have in the building?
Yeah, this T-Man, New Jersey, Terence. What's up, y'all?
What's going on with you, bro?
Yo, man,
What's up, Terence?
Filibustering out here, bro. I just got a couple of things. Greg, I got a bone to pick with you. I saw you on. I heard
not this. Oh, it's this Terence. Oh, hell. What's going on,
Greg,
man?
I got a bone. What's up? I got a bone to pick with you because I saw your video earlier today. I think I think it was this morning. You said you were criticizing Bud and saying basically, if this Golden Boy he can't come to an agreement with Golden Boy, that you're going to blame Crawford, right? Is that the gist of what you were saying today? Am I correct?
That I'm going to bring Crawford. What do you mean?
You're going to you were saying that if the Bud negotiation with Golden Boy don't work out, you're blaming Bud for that. And you said, because you were saying don't blame Spence and Al Heyman for that. That's what you were saying, right? Basically, Bud is the problem.
I'm saying he's the common denominator.
Okay. So let me just say this to you. You remember when that story first broke out about Bud signing with Golden Boy, right? And you remember what Golden Boy said about that. You remember what Oscar said. He said if they sign, what did he say? He wanted him to fight Rocha, then he wanted him to fight
Ortiz.
What's his name? His other fighter.
Ortiz.
And then they'll talk about Bud Crawford, right? You remember that, right?
Yeah, they'll talk about.
And y'all remember.
Yes.
And y'all remember all of the Errol people were saying that, if he does that, he's a duck. He's a duck. And if he signs them, that means that the Errol fight is done. So you're telling me right now, if Bud doesn't want to sign that contract because he wants to remain open after this Rocha fight to fight Errol, y'all calling him a duck, and y'all saying he's not right in doing that, and saying to them, hey, listen, I'll fight Rocha, but my next fight attention has to be on Errol Spence, not your boy. Y'all would have a problem with that? I'm just asking, Greg, if that's the issue right now, which I think that's the issue, would you have a problem with that? Would you blame Crawford for that?
No, I think
we never said that.
My video from earlier, man. The video from earlier is in regards to his decision that he has to make, because if he is unable to come to terms with Golden Boy, it's going to go to a purse split, and at that point, I think we're going to understand what the true value is of Terence Crawford from a market value perspective, and then he has a choice whether or not he's going to lose that leverage or just get stripped from get stripped of his WBO welterweight championship. That's how I framed it. So, yeah. So I'm not sure how you got what you just said out of that.
No, but you were saying in that video, in one of the videos, you were saying that basically he's the problem, that Terence Crawford's the problem with this negotiation. But what I'm saying is that I think that he's not the problem, because if he wants to fight Spence next, and Golden Boy wants to sign him for a multi-fight deal where he has to fight these guys before Spence, then that's why. I mean, he doesn't want to sign that deal. He doesn't want to sign a multi-fight deal with them. He'll sign the one deal. Let's get a fair purse for Rocha, but they don't want to do that. They obviously want more than one fight. So I think that's what the issue is. And guess what? If he has to go to a purse bid and just fight his one fight with Rocha and get paid less than what he wants to, so be it. That's what has to happen.
Come on, Terrence,
I don't think he's not going to take a multi-fight deal.
Man, that's a reach. The only time promoters try to leverage a multi-fight deal like that is if you have like an A-side fighter or a significant fighter in that deal that fighter is going to want. Not for a mandatory. I don't think that's what's actually. Jake, what's your opinion on that?
I'm going to say this. If that's where Terence Crawford is in these negotiations, he would have been the one to tell the WB, go ahead and order the purse bid. Roach is the one that's pushing for it because he feels like Crawford is trying to go another avenue, whether it's to extend talks with Oscar or to try to revisit this stuff with Spence and stall out. Roach is the one that feels like he's being stalled out. So I believe all that if Terence was the one that said, I want, like he did. He's the one who pushed the WBO to order the Sean Porter fight. Everyone thinks it was Porter who did it. That actually caught Sean Porter by surprise. I know that for a fact because I worked with Sean Porter during the Olympics, literally the night when that fight was ordered. So that Terence was in that situation then. Roach is the one pushing the fight now. So I hear what you're saying. I'm just not with you on it, though. I'm sorry.
But Jake, if Rocha is pushing the fight, you're saying the Golden Boys pushing the fight, and they went on live. Did you see the video when Oscar said they wanted the multi-fight deal? I mean, Am I the only one that saw the video? Y'all saw the video. Man. He said he wanted to sign him for a multi-fight deal.
But that doesn't mean one is contingent upon the other. Yeah, but one doesn't. He wants to sign them. That's, to me, those are two totally separate things. One is a Rocha fight. The other is, hey, I want to represent you as your promoter. I don't think they have to go hand in hand.
Just like when PBC wanted to sign Bud the first time, they didn't want to sign him for one fight. They wanted him to fight a 3-fight deal where they were going to give him around $5 million. This is precisely what I'm thinking that Golden Boy wants. They want to sign this guy everybody wants to sign him for a multi-fight deal when they don't have a problem with doing anybody else for one fight. When Canelo wants to fight one fight, okay, we can give him $40 million. Just sign him for the one fight and he would be fine. Y'all have no evidence
Canelo bring in versus what Bud brings in.
That he's been offered a one-fight deal with Golden Boy. No one has presented me with any evidence of that. All we have is a video where Oscar said specifically he wanted him to fight him, and then he wanted him to fight Ortiz, and then they might talk about the Errol Spence fight. And but we know that if that happens, Errol Spence is going to be at 154. The fight's never going to happen. So if Bud really wants this fight, he can't take a 3-fight deal. And y'all saying that they're offering him a 1-fight deal. Does anybody have any evidence of that? Or we're just speculating here?
Terrence, you know what Bud could have did to stop all this? He could have just signed the contract when he agreed to everything last year. We wouldn't be in this position right now.
Okay, we going back in circles. But when was the fight date? Greg, what was the fight date? When was the fight date? Because last time I checked, in order for a fight to happen, you have to have a specific fight date. But specifically asked Errol Spence when was the fight date, and Errol never responded. Errol wasn't training for the fight. Also, Mayweather said the fight wasn't happening well before.
That's also not true.
So I mean, come on, y'all keep bringing up this old stuff. There was no contract. There was no fight. They knew it wasn't a fight happening.
Man,
in fact, there's a video. There's a video where Errol Spence says, where they asked him, "Do you blame Terence Crawford for this?" And Errol said, man, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know what's going on. He wouldn't blame Bud. So you guys are blaming Bud when Errol wouldn't even blame Bud for the fight not happening. Come on. Y'all must know more than Errol did. Because Errol wouldn't blame.
You know more than Bud and Errol, because you said the contracts wasn't signed, weren't sent. So you know more than Bud and Errol too.
Because Bud said it. That's what Bud said. There was no dates on the contract. Unless we know that he's lying. I don't have.
Well, he lied about $10 million. He lied about $10 million, so we know he lies. Man, so he lied about $10 million, so we know he lies. So come on, man. So there's so many fallacies in what you're saying. So Floyd Mayweather did not say the fight was not going to happen well before the fight. It was actually announced that the fight wasn't going to happen. What he was saying was he was disputing. He was disputing what Cappinger was saying in terms of the fight was almost here. The fight was almost made. That's what he was disputing. He didn't say the fight. You guys love making shit up and running with it.
Greg. He said the fight's not happening now. Maybe sometimes in the future. That was
after the fight had already been. Everybody knew the fight wasn't happening at that point. It wasn't well before when he made that statement.
That was October the 8th, Greg.
We all knew that. When did Bud announce? Because Errol Spence actually dropped the tweet before that. Hold up, let me finish.
It was well after October the 8th. It was well after October the 8th. We keep doing this.
No, it wasn't. It was like October the 11th when he did that. What are you talking? Go look at the Errol Spence versus Terence, or the truth behind Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I highlight all the dates, bro. Stop coming in here with all this false information. It's wrong. It's wrong.
Oh, it's definitely not wrong. Errol didn't mention anything about this until Bud announced that he was fighting David.
No, he said that was before October 8th? Errol Spence started talking about, he started tweeting before the day, I think it was the day of or the day before. He started tweeting saying, this nigga been holding up this whole time and I could have already fought somebody. At that moment, he already knew he wasn't fighting Terence Crawford. And then later, I think it was either that day or the next day, Terence Crawford announced he was going to fight David Avanesian. All this shit was around the same time. Stop making shit up.
But that's the point I'm making, Greg, that he knew when he starts talking, he knows Bud is not available. So he already knew Bud was fighting David. That's why he came out with that nonsense. He never says anything with Bud when he know Bud's free. Like right now, what is he saying now? Is he coming out and saying, oh yeah, I'll fuck you up right now, Bud? He ain't saying nothing now. When Bud is free, now he might start. Watch. As soon as they announce that Rocha fight, now that's when you'll hear Errol Spence talking junk about Bud. He only talks junk about Bud when Bud is already engaged into an activity or a fight that he has to take already. Y'all know that.
Yeah. Only after he left Spence.
That's the only time he says his name. Now, he said, oh, yeah, he called out Bud after his fight. But he knew he wasn't fighting right then and there. In April, after that fight with Ugas, he called out Bud. But at that point, obviously, he's not going to fight into another 3, 6, 7 months from now. So, of course, he called him out. But at no other time during all of these negotiations, I hear him call out Bud. When Bud's sitting there and negotiating with Al, offering him $25 million, which he ain't never make in his life. When he's doing all of this, we ain't hearing nothing from Al. No tweets, no nothing. Nothing. We ain't hearing nothing from him. That's a pattern. We know that's a pattern with Errol. He doesn't say nothing when Bud ready to fight. There's nothing. And then he announced, once Bud, he knows he's fighting David, that's when he announced. Oh, yeah, what's
so he knows he's fighting David?
He knows he's fighting David.
So
come on, y'all know that.
Terrence, we got to go. So, Terrence, you done got my blood pressure up. You done embarrassed me in front of Jake. You done got me talking crazy in front of Jake. Man, you can't get me into this space where we got company on here. So we got to go ahead and wrap it up, though, man. We want to take
Jake
the next
can
caller,
watch
bro.
your videos. He know how you get. Your videos, they public information, Greg.
All right, man. Let's but Terrence, appreciate you calling in, man. You're a true Bud fan, man, coming in with all that crazy stuff. We'll catch up with you next time, bro. All right.
All right, take care, guys.
Yep. All right, guys. So we're gonna take one more call, man. Then we're wrapping up the show. I think the 484 was trying to call in, so this is gonna be the last phone call for the night, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So 484, go ahead and give us a call back, and we will wrap up the show. If you haven't had the opportunity, guys, please hit the like button or the dislike button if you don't like the content, and also subscribe to the channel. Go check out the Boxing Source. Go check out the Mic Check podcast. Go check out Chicken Talk, and also check out Lefty's Spaces, 11 a.m. every Saturday with Jake Donovan. All right, we got one more person calling in. Let's see, 484 calling in. 484, we got you in the building, man. What's going on?
484, we got you in the building.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, man? How y'all doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Chilling.
All right. The guy that just called in, there's no doubt in my mind he's on Terence Crawford's payroll. There's no doubt in my mind he's on Terence Crawford's payroll. And listen to this, right? After Crawford's last fight, he didn't say nothing about Spence. After Spence's last fight, he called out Crawford. After Crawford's last fight, he didn't say nothing about Spence.
Hey, cut your volume down in the background.
Crawford is going to make sure he retired undefeated. That's his main purpose. That's a goal of his. Crawford is going to make sure he retired undefeated.
Hey, turn your volume down in the background.
Crawford wanted to get Spence. Crawford wanted to get Spence before he started partying. Crawford wanted to get Spence. Once Errol Spence got it together and he focused, he was no longer partying. He was breaking Joker's eye sockets. Crawford said, "I don't want none of that work." That's the bottom line. This fight will not happen. That's the bottom line. This fight will not happen. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your work. You guys do a good job.
All right, appreciate you, bro. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate your work. You guys do a good job. All right, appreciate you, bro.
All right, bro. All right, man. We are closing the phone lines now. I just want to say thanks, Jake, for being a part of the show. Really enjoy the content that you and Lefty bring. Yeah, man, the content and the information that you're able to provide to our subscribers, man. Really appreciate you joining us.
It's invaluable. Jake, you might be mute. You might have muted yourself.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I had to let my headphones recharge. Sorry about that. No, I was gonna say, man, thanks, man. It's a long overdue pleasure being on the show, man. I always enjoy everything you guys do, and anytime you want me back, man, I'm always here for you. So, thanks again, man. I really had a good time today, man. I love the back and forth with the callers, man. Not as crazy as I thought it would be, man. I think Chicken Talk's a little more bizarre, but it was good, man. It was a lot of good dialogue today, man. I've been on some channels where there's just been some crazy, I don't know, man, just some crazy theories out there. So, no, man, I really appreciate this audience, man.
No, man, appreciate you again for joining the show, guys. And just want to say, guys, thank you guys. I know you probably have noticed this, but we just passed the 5,000 mark. What was that? Monday or Tuesday this past week, Jay?
Yeah, I want to say it was Monday night.
No,
Monday night, yeah.
Yeah. So appreciate everybody who supports the channel. Amazing growth. We've been doing this now for 13 months. I think the average YouTube channel grows at about 1,000 subs. The first 2 years we were able to get to 5,000 in 13 months. So that shows that, people appreciate the content that we're putting out there, and we really appreciate you guys as well. So thank you. Next week, we are going to go live fight party for Caleb Plant versus Benavidez, David Benavidez. That's going to be great. Jason and I will be in the building, so please join us for a really good time. I'll be on bourbon. Jason will be drinking water, but that's okay. So make sure that you tune in for that. And of course,
don't hate because I'm clean.
Man, shut your ass up. And yeah, always on Sunday.
See what I did with Jake?
We're always here. So, and then make sure you support our sister channels, The Boxing Source. Like I said, Chicken Talk. Who else we got? Definitely the Mic Check podcast. And also go check out, again, their show is great. We're always on their show. 11 a.m. Spaces. Lefty, their show is great. Go find them on Twitter and check out their show. Lefty, you need to start dropping your link on your Twitter so people can start following you on Twitter so they can follow your show. But yeah, once again, guys, appreciate you guys for joining the show. Salute. Thank you. And we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Jake.
So much.
Good content.
All right, yeah.